We're live.
Oh, shit.
What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Abssii for the best gaming podcast number 424, man. How many have you been on? How many podcasts have you been on? Probably.
Do you mean since I became a co-host?
You started. Yeah, even if you had the old ones,
Patreon,
because you were on a bunch in the first.
we were doing. I remember back in 2018, we did Game Awards and shit. We did a bunch of events and stuff like that. We did a bunch of E3s. I hopped on a couple internationals. The first one I ever did was just a Patreon one, which was really fun. That's when I do you realize there's two games I always talk about, and it's Nier and Prey, right? And my top 10, and those two games were recommended by you in that first Patreon podcast. That's how I found out about them.
That's how long you've been doing them. They were in the original Patron podcast.
They're in the original Patron podcast. And then, before I became a co-host, I feel like I've come on like 20, 30 times or something. And then ever since then, it's been every week, right?
Yeah, I think you were on probably the most out of, like the people who come on and join. I think you were on the most before. And that you and Johnny was on quite a bit, which is why we...
Yeah, I was like a regular, just like coming in sometimes. And
coming in
like
hot. What's up, everybody in chat? People are asking about the ads. Are they real? No, those are, Manscraper. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Those ain't real. That would be ridiculous. Well, you know what? These days. Josh L, $2 super chat. Will Gilf Island have microtransactions? Yeah. See, if you know that sometimes YouTubers make games. If I made a game, it would be Gilf Island, and it would be a point and click, like Leisure Suit Larry, but with just grandmothers. Just
like
hot
Monkey
gilfs.
Island, but
like
Monkey
Island, but hot gilfs. Yeah, it'd be Gilf Island.
What's the do you have like a distinction between Gilf and Cougar? Or
see, that's the thing. I think Cougar's just replaced the number of kids you may have had. So Cougar doesn't matter if you've had kids. Where Gilf is like grandmother. You have
to be a grandmother.
You have to be. So a grandmother.
Even if you were like a 40-year-old grandmother, you'd be a Gilf.
You would be a Gilf. Yeah, technically. Okay. But again, we're changing all the slang, so who knows?
So if there's like an 18-year-old with a that has a son or a daughter, she'd be a MILF. That doesn't sit well. She would.
It doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well when you look at like how we've changed. Like the
MILF
way
has to be at least 40,
Yeah, right. Exactly. Because at some point you're getting into, well, not into creep zone, especially if you're 20 and that person's 20. But it's a little weird.
Right.
Yeah. Sup, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about GTA 6 and the announcement of an announcement. I got to tell you, I just did this on Twitter. I just said, okay, because they said, we're happy to announce that at some point we'll have an announcement. And I was just like, come on, guys.
Do you think they're going to do in Game Awards? They never do that.
They don't. Rockstar doesn't want to share the... Rockstar's big enough to not share the limelight with E3.
Yeah, they could literally just release a YouTube video and it'll be good, man.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know. But it could be. It would be a big get for the Game Awards to have the first ever...
Big get for the Game Awards, not for Rockstar. They don't need that publicity.
Exactly.
Game Awards
in fact, it would be in a way worse, because I know a lot of people who aren't going to watch and aren't interested at all in the Game Awards.
Right.
So it's like, they'll be parsing out. We even do that sometimes where we parse out trailers after an event.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But they said there was going to be an announcement. For the last 6 months, we've seen leaked data on it. What did you think? Have you seen some of the leaked, alpha beta footage? Yeah.
She has a fucking ass on her, dude. The character.
I noticed that as well. I was like, that's those pants are tight.
That's all I got from that. But
that's all you got. Not the guns,
because
not the.
I didn't. All I saw was like
the badonkadonk.
Some of her. Like I didn't really want to look at too many leaks.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why. It just felt. I don't know. Rockstar was pretty pissed about it.
They went after somebody, didn't
progress.
They? Didn't they go after a leaker?
Probably. Yeah, they did actually. They did. But with Rockstar especially, it's like a spoiler for a trailer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a Rockstar game, dude. It's it doesn't happen that many that often.
Yeah, you don't want to really. We'll put the GTA 5 thing there. Well, I think overall I don't really want to see too much because, like we were talking earlier, I asked everybody what they wanted to see from GTA 5 or GTA 6, and dude, I would never want to be a developer. The ideas that everybody came up with were so cross in cahoots, like they wouldn't work together. You know, you had people saying, I want a 4x. Somebody else said, I wanted a strategy. Somebody else said, I want anarchy and a deep characterization. The other person said, I want deep customization and I want to be the character, which I get both of those. I understand both of those sides. But I was reading it just going, dude, seriously, if you were a dev and you were reading the thought process on that, you'd be like, we're fucked. No one's going to be happy.
Man, being a dev must suck ass because your customers are gamers, man.
Yeah, it's got to be rough.
That's the worst.
It's got to be rough because there are gamers who are embedded in GTA to the point of being okay, for example, we had a big discussion yesterday. I said every announcement's been about 2 years. So they show it and then they announce it. And I said one of the reasons why I thought this would make sense for another 2 years is because they've got to tell people quit buying shit in GTA 4. Or GTA 5. Sorry, they've got to do the thing where they don't say it, but they're like, just so you know, GTA 6 is coming, so you might want to not spend $100K in GTA 5 and shark cards. But it's like, I don't quite know, you know, how they're going to handle that, how they're going to handle the online.
Did they release something new for shark cards? Sorry, shark cards?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because,
I just know. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if you'd agree with me on this. So it'd be nice, obviously, to like transfer stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But at the same time, dude, it's a new game, and this is the game you chose to spend. It's like you know what I mean? The games are not like a year apart. You know what I mean? They're like what, like 10 years apart, right? Yeah. It's just a whole new. I mean, I don't see, you know, if they were like, hey, we noticed that your account had like this character with that much shit, and you know, we're gonna give you a little boost or gonna give you some stuff. That'd be cool for them. But I'm at the same time, I'd be. I mean, I haven't paid much. You know, I wonder how they would feel. But I feel like, you know, it wouldn't be a big deal if they were just like, yeah, this is just a new game, start from scratch, right? I don't know if you'd agree with that or not.
Yeah, I think it's diminishing. They'll do a diminishing refund where they're like, if you had 100,000, you get 1,000. If you had 1 million points of things bought, you get 5,000. You know, there'll be a percentage maybe, but that's why I think the 2 years makes sense. You announce it now, you got 2 years, and you're really telling people behind the scenes, hey, listen, man, in 2 years. GTA 6 is going to be it, but GTA 5 isn't going to go away. It didn't go away with Red Dead, thank God. But,
yeah, and GTA 4 didn't go away. Right?
And GTA 4 didn't go away. I mean, well, I don't know what there is in GTA. Is there even an online, though, in GTA 4?
I have no fucking
okay, I don't think there is, but I don't think with GTA 5 they would close it down. I just think they might have a diminishing, you know, return kind of thing where they look at a percentage.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, dude, it's a lot. The Shrike, $5 super chat. Just lost my left bullet using my lawnmower to shave my nuts. Lawyers, details, please. Oh, for the manscraper commercial. Yeah, I think when you look at like GTA 6, man, what I want to see is a larger world in size, a bigger city, and then bigger out of bounds. I don't need 3 cities. People are talking about multiple cities. I don't think it needs to be Just Cause either. I just would like to. Because GTA 5 is good, but you can cover GTA 5 pretty quick. I did the walk, and you can walk to one edge to the other pretty quickly. Not quickly in like, you know what I mean, in game. You know, sure, it's not 8 hours.
What I'm wondering about as well. Well, it's always Rockstar. They're gonna like push it even more. But I was wondering, I always wonder about this. Red Dead, they were able to do what they did with Red Dead because it's not a fully developed world. So every single NPC you meet has his own scripting, and you can talk to them and they react, and there's so much detail in that. And like encounters that might happen. Now I'm sure encounters can definitely happen in GTA, but I wonder if they're gonna have scripting for every single dude. Like, there's no way, right? Like, it's super populated. Like, it's a city. there's no way they're gonna script. Maybe they're gonna do some crazy tech voodoo smart shit where they do some like AI scripting, you know what I mean, or something like that. But I don't see them, you know. But it'd be awesome, man. If GTA on the scale that it is had the same type of detail and density as Red Dead, that'd be insane, man. And I always wonder about that, like what direction. Maybe they're two completely different games going two completely different routes, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
I mean, it'll be the first ones based on SSD and NVMe.
Yeah.
So my personal opinion is they'll do a lot of loading behind the scenes, NPCs. They'll do what Ubisoft does, where they sample less scripting for the farther out the guy is, and so your up close guys. There is a lot going on. But looking at the footage here, there's a lot of places in GTA 5 where there isn't a ton of traffic and people. And then depending on the time frame, depending on the city, there is a lot. I think they can probably do something that's very close to Red Dead, plus a lot of cheats. They're going to have a ton of cheats.
Yeah, 100%.
Legion had a ton of really good, despite anybody's love or hate for Watch Dogs Legion, if you watch their GDCs, they had some really smart ways of basically having one person sort of running a group of people, and it was like using their senses instead of everybody's, and then informing others, and sort of like Fear did with its AI and stuff. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be able to work it out. They'll definitely have some cool stuff because of the new consoles. I mean, base PS5, base Xbox Series S and X, they can do a lot with those.
Is this so Red Dead came out 2018. That was like towards the end of the console life cycle. Yep. I believe now we're in the middle of it. And it's interesting because even GTA was at the very, very, they pushed the shit out of those systems. Remember Xbox 360, PS3? Like that was at the very, very end, the cusp. So it's interesting. This is going to be the first. Well, maybe, I don't know how they announce a game and then release it like a couple months later, right? So I'm assuming that it's going to be released 2024.
Well, all GTAs have had 2 years exactly
after announcement.
Yeah, I looked last night.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they delayed GTA 5 by a couple months, but it was so 4 was like I can't
2 years before.
2 years, and GTA I think for that probably makes sense because it also gives you some room to sort of identify where you are. Also, if you look at the alphas, dude, they're not very good. So we're seeing footage that I assume is somewhat current when people leak it.
Yeah,
that's got a long ways to go. And a long ways in Rockstar terms, of course, is different than everybody else. But they could do it at the end of 2024. But I think more like, starting in 2025, the end of 2024. But I think it'll be probably end of 2025 or 2026.
Red Dead was released a couple months after, right?
Red Dead. A couple months after what?
The announcement.
Yeah, see, that one I didn't track because Red Dead was leaked many years prior. So I don't
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, we know about GTA 6 until today. They didn't announce it, but we knew it was being made too. So and we knew GTA 4 was being made.
I'm thinking of the deep dive trailers. You know, when they released the Red Dead deep dive.
Yeah,
when they did like the 20-minute or 30-minute, like this is the game mechanics, this is what you'd be. That was close to release. So maybe they did like a teaser way before for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited whenever it could come out tomorrow and I would play it. It could come out in 2 years and I could play it. Come out in 4 years and I'd play it. I do also think that they've talked about not punching down in humor and all that stuff, which I think is really weird because that's sort of what it's known for, and why I think a lot of people, there's a little bit of like cathartic kind of, just like some of the stuff you would never say, but these characters say, and so you find it funny, like a comedian who's edgy or what we
for sure, yeah.
So I want to see how they're going to handle that, how they're going to handle characterization of those two characters. Sicilian Gamer, $5 super chat. Thoughts on Boogie documentary? He spent $200 on prostitutes instead of his mortgage.
Oh God,
what is
Boogie? Boogie's been on a spiral since for a while now.
Is Boogie the
fat guy?
He's heavy set and he did a lot of Xbox stuff. He did. I think he had like
he was
that one
known
guy
for
from Xbox come over.
Yeah, he was known for his like character that likes to drink a lot of, I think, Mountain Dew as you drink Mountain Dew.
Francis,
Francis,
the flipping of the table thing,
that shit. But then he went into like this whole rabbit hole of depression and I don't know. I think he's mentally unwell or something. So I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah,
I personally saw, would just say
things popping up.
I don't like documentaries on people anyway. Like, everybody's personal life. Like, everybody loves to pretend they're perfect in the real world. No one is.
For sure.
Never met anybody in my life, and I mean that's what I did
Instagram
for you. It's
filters.
Like Instagram filter of life, right? So it's like I just don't care, and I would never watch it. Like,
there are like full on studios that would like that's where like there's full on studios, and I know that like I have like friends who are Instagram like e-girls and shit, and they tell me like they take a picture on Instagram like they're in a private jet or like on the
fake.
boat with it's all fake.
Yeah, it's all fake.
Yeah, it's all fake. Yeah, it's all fake. It's
Yeah, here there's a guy who rents out his jet for Instagram models. So he'll rent out the jet. They can come onto the tarmac, take photos. Yeah.
Yeah, and literally, I there's a lot of jet owners or speedboat owners or boats or yachts or whatever. They say people just want to go there, take videos with them, like fucking opening champagne and shit and ruining, dirtying up their whole. Oh god,
the world. Yeah, I hate it. Penumbrum says Red Dead 2 reveal was also 2 years prior to release. So yeah, you were probably thinking of those deep dives. I don't track that too much. I only do with GTA. Anthony says, thanks, guys. Love the 2-week podcast. Thanks for introducing me. I checked out... Whoops, my light went off. I checked out Johnny's content. Is there content for Abssii and Silver? There is not, unless Abssii starts
just bad
again.
Like saying shit on Twitter. That's all. But I might do some stuff. There's some stuff I got cooking, not YouTube wise, like other stuff that
cooking
will be cool. Cooking.
Yeah. I mean, just so you know, it sounds like you're new, that 80% of the reason why we're doing this podcast is because it's not influencers. So, like... Yeah,
I'm not an influencer.
Yeah, that's sort of like the entire reason why we do the podcast is because... or at least why I put it together the way I did is because I don't want influencers on. I think it gets really toxic really quick. Everybody's talking about review codes. Let's see. I don't know what's happening, but I love it. Map got leaked. Some in-game stuff like the epilogue. Oh, you're talking about the older games? Yeah, probably. I mean, over time, this stuff gets leaked pretty easy. Doesn't take much to leak something. These guys are filming their, their gameplay. I've seen a lot of watermarks hidden on gameplay as well, which I think is how they find some of these guys. They'll do like every 15 frames per second, flash a watermark for 1 frame in the lower left-hand corner when you're playing a beta. So that if you post it and you post it online, I was playing I think it was a Microsoft. I'm pretty sure it was Flight Simulator, and they had my username watermarked in everywhere on the screen, everywhere. Like almost like when you download a photo from deposit
and closed beta or closed alphas. do that too.
And it was like, boom, here's all your stuff. There was no way of you could probably run AI and try to like remove it, but it would be difficult to do so. Let's see. If the trailer's next month, then probably next GTA going to be 2 or 3 years. Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm excited for it. I don't care. I asked everybody what they wanted. We saw some people say 4X or strategy stuff like Scarface. Scarface was one of my favorite games on the original Xbox, I believe. Scarface 2 was 360.
Like Cocaine Wars or some shit, or no?
Yep. And you went and you basically took control of like the prostitute's den. You took control of a drug den, and then you had like an overarching strategy. Yeah. Here's the one I don't want. We had a big discussion about this because Lansby said, I want it layered up and down. And I was like, please, God, no. And everybody got layered, like go up into skyscrapers and stuff. And I said, here's why I don't want that. I do not want a mission where I chase up some stairs to kill the 1,000th bad guy in a random mission.
GTA 4.
I do not want that. I would rather have it spread out more, go into some buildings. I saw somebody say I want all buildings enterable, and I'm like, I don't know if you guys understand GTA's gameplay. That's not...
that's where the distinction is. Like Red Dead, it makes sense because there's buildings. The thing is, I forgot what game it was, but people wanted enterable rooms, like every room enterable or something, and then they complain about why every room doesn't have something inside of it, like a reward. It's like what do you want to gamify the shit out of it? Like, what do you want to do, dude?
Yeah,
you want it gamified or no? I don't.
You have got to draw a line in like how much interaction you want, and then if it's repetitive. Another thing I saw is people saying they wanted the mission structure to be more fluid. I think that's okay. I think GTA 5's I think Red Dead was more like you're in a pasture and you have to do this thing here, where GTA 5, there's definitely more structure than a lot of open world games, but overall I don't think 5 I had a ton of issues. I know a lot of people do, but some more flexibility, I think, in how you do things. But I've always assumed GTA 5 is more about what gun you choose, not that you've chosen stealth. You know what I mean?
I just don't think choice has to be in every single thing, in every single game, and every single story. And
not to that
choice
point,
doesn't
right?
have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can have choice all you want in the open world and do whatever you want, but like you don't have to have choice-based stories. Let them deliver their tight-ass good story, and usually GTA missions are just fun, dude. Except when they get you frustrated, like having Frank get on the boat and shit like that. So,
dude, my least favorite was GTA 5. The first time you get in a car chase, there's always a car at an intersection that hits you.
Yeah, that tries to like stop you.
Oh my god, dude! When I was reviewing that, I was like, "Are you?" Every time it was like time to spawn and try, and they were like, they want you to go around it, but then I get not egotistic. What's the term? Stubborn, and I smash into it. I'm like, "Fuck you!"
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to turn, so I just be like, "Meh," and gun it, and be like, "I'm not trying to turn. I'm just."
Thank
going
God
right.
for Frank's slow motion, right?
Yeah, is it Frank? Franklin? Franklin.
Yeah.
Franklin. Lincoln is in Mafia. Franklin is in.
Franklin.
The Lynn part always confuses me. Yeah, you're right. He had the ability to do slow-mo car stuff, right?
Yeah. I like that.
SBZ, $5. Players have no patience. They want stuff every day, every hour. Mike Yarborough. Yeah. That's the ex-Microsoft guy, right? Remember back when we played that one same game for 5 years? I mean...
What game?
I think he's just saying that some games that didn't have a lot of choice, we've still played for 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I would agree with that, yeah.
Choice has its place, man. Choice has its place, yeah.
I do have to tell you, though, Abssii, I remember riding a bike in GTA 5, and this was after review. I was with Purple Santa and Cadiz and a couple others. We were doing the multiplayer, and I was riding a bike, and there was like a deer passing me, and I was like, I'm riding a bike in the mountains in an open world game. And I was pretty astounded at that. I was like, wow, if you separate and look at what you could scuba diving, the ocean stuff, which I hope they really... Tennis and golf, those structured games, I sort of expected. But getting on a mountain bike, and they had mountain bike races, but getting on a mountain bike and like cruising for no reason other than to go in the mountains. Are the
special moments, right?
Yeah. Just like Red Dead, too, or even one where you're riding in the mountains just to see a sunset. You just go out somewhere and you're like, man, this is sweet. Yeah. 2 characters. I hope it's the quick switch.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely going to be less loading time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We saw Spiderman get it down to like 0.01 milliseconds, and even the guy had said some loading for the maps were slowed down, which makes sense. But yeah, dude, I'm excited to see it. I think graphically it's also going to look... I'm just guessing, but I would assume with the PS5 and the Xbox S and X as their base, it's going to look even better. And I think GTA 5 looks good.
Do you think they're going to do a PC release this time right off the bat?
Was GTA 5 delayed? It was.
Yeah, GTA 5 was. Red Dead 2 was. Because it
came with a first-person shooter screen in GTA 5, later, and then it came a year later. Yeah, you're right, dude.
And Red Dead. Yeah.
Red Dead was also delayed.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 only came on console first. I wonder. I feel like I feel like shit's changed though. The market's changed like after COVID. Yeah, I mean the PC market's bigger than the console market now. So
and dude, the consoles are pretty. I mean, ignoring that they're not super powerful, their efficiency and DLSS and FSR. There's all these tricks that just, even remember FSR adds some computational weight. Like when you turn it on, you will actually see GPU go up because it is it's not free. But I would assume these new ones, yeah, man. What do you think? 30 FPS for? Do you think it'll be 60? I think it'll be upscaled 60. I think it'll be 60. That's just
Maybe
in 2 years, I think it'll be 60.
It just depends on scope and what they're doing and what tricks they do and how much. I think CPU is the big one probably on console.
For FPS, CPU is directly tied.
Yeah, but if it's gonna be 30, I'll have no problem with that. It's just I know people are gonna bitch like crazy, and it's so I value more systems and stuff that utilize CPU rather than just like give me 60 frames, because if you nail down 30 frames and make it consistent and the frame timing is really good and frame pacing and stuff, people just recently started being super obsessed with the number. I think there's no problem with that. I mean, I just played I think Tears of the Kingdom came out this year and it was on 30 and it felt fine.
Or they'll do the 40 FPS VRSS for consoles, because both of them
finally
PlayStation supports
feels
it.
Good. Yeah,
it does on some games.
Good. Yeah.
I don't know about you. I've tried it on a couple, and I tried it on the Legion Go, and I can still tell it's not. There's something about it that you're like, it feels smoother than 30, but it doesn't. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not a FPS whore. I'll play a 30 FPS game, like without any shadow of a doubt. If it looks good and there's like if I'm playing Red Dead 2 and it's 30, but it looks as good as I'm just gonna be like, hey man, that's that.
Dude, I just it gives me dread sometimes. Like people's obsession with the 60 FPS sometimes scares me, because I feel like that would come in the
form of cutting.
It would cut. Yeah, it would come in it'd cut in the scope of thing. I feel like if we only focus on 60 FPS this generation, games aren't gonna do many new things other than the SSD stuff where it's like loading fast, which opens the door to a lot of stuff. I feel like there's some stuff that isn't gonna move forward if 60 FPS is the big thing, because we're just gonna get games like last gens but double the frame rate, right?
And you see this every time. If you turn up 60 on a console, they'll almost just like Spiderman, they'll be like less pedestrians, less cars, and you're like, well, it's New York. New York is known for its traffic jams. Like, is that really what I want? Imagine
sacrificing that for 60 FPS and God, it's so stupid. People's obsession, like, dude, if you really are super upset, you gotta pay. You know what I mean? If you want like a next gen crazy game out, like, you got to pay more than $400 machine. Like, I'm sorry, but I just, you know what I mean?
You always get the lazy devs too, and it's like you talk to some devs and they're like, dude, skill is one thing nobody wants to admit. They either want to say somebody's lazy or somebody didn't get the money, and it's like sometimes the skill or the engine isn't up to snuff, and you're playing. We see that with Unreal, where really good developers still can't get the stutter. And I've seen some people who are supposed experts be like, stutter doesn't have to be a thing, and it's like, it does depend on the cuts you're going to put in your game.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I feel like people just think that graphics are the only thing that have to do with frame rate. Like you know what I mean? Like, there's so much else. There's a CPU involved.
AI.
There's AI. There's a CPU involved. There's object permanence. There's like all these systems and scripting and all this shit that uses CPU power. And what CPUs do consoles have, man? Like, I don't even know.
Well, they're mobile APUs.
Yeah. There's so many like other things involved than just graphics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's also like, especially when you look at it, it always cracks me up because especially for 3 gens, it was 30, some games 60, some games 30, blah blah blah, and it'll be like, it just wasn't a deal, and now it's suddenly a deal, and it's like, I don't know where they were
suddenly
prior.
It's like,
30, it's like,
shit,
I'm gonna die, and you're all.
It's all about frame pacing.
It is about frame pacing. It's about frame pacing and not a ton of motion blur. Instead, like when I play games, if there's a motion blur slider, the max it'll be on. It is on 0 a lot, but there's times where it looks a little juddery, and 1, and then you also have like per object blur. And what we see with Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty, they allow for you to put weapon and movement blur on the character's weapon to make it cinematic, but the rest of the world is not motion blur. And I think it was John from Digital Foundry was just saying that, like, that's a really good sort of middle ground to get a cinematic look in some stuff, and by the way, that is in people are accustomed to a cinema thing, not using that as an excuse, saying that, like, because you can turn it off, so it's not an excuse. It's if you as the gamer wants to do it, and a lot of people do. But I've seen people be like, dude, I'm gonna get motion sick, and I'm like, where were you for 2 or 3. Or you'll have people say that the old games were that. I'm like, dude, I still have the old systems. The old systems couldn't even get all the pixels on a line, let alone do some of that. So, but what were you saying?
They were playing Bloodborne. They love Bloodborne.
Yeah. Oh my God, the frame pacing in Bloodborne, dude.
Yeah,
that was crazy. What were you saying?
No, but dude, you reminded me of something. I don't know why. Dude, I used to always see in the options there's per object motion blur and camera motion blur, and now so many games just combine the two. And I'm like, why, dude? Object per object motion blur is good, dude. I don't want screen motion blur or camera motion blur, and just pisses me off, man.
Yeah, because especially with camera, a lot of times it feels like they crank it and it's just to the point to where it's a mess. In some games, like Spiderman did it pretty well, but even Spiderman, there's some games where if you get it up into the 2 out of 10 or something, you start looking at it going, it looks a little. And by the way, this is another thing that bothers me, is a lot of game companies are now putting slight movement in the character's third-person camera. So you get a camera that looks solid, and I've done this because I wanted to test FPS in a console game and tried to record it, and pretty soon the character's looking over here because, they got this character who's like slightly moving like this, and I don't like that. I actually like it solid. I'm like, if I get my third person camera and I'm looking at something far away, like maybe scoping it in a shooting game, I don't want them going. I mean, I get that it's realistic. Somebody may say it's realistic, but it's like, dude, like I would just rather not have that.
You got to play Tarkov with me sometime.
Why, does it have a lot?
Well, it's I guess in Tarkov, you got stamina for running and stuff. Normal stamina, and then you got stamina for like upper body stamina. So when you aim a lot,
like
your arm starts getting tired.
Oh, gotcha.
It starts getting tired, especially if you have weight on you. You know what I mean? If you're carrying a lot of shit, it gets
That's why a lot of people have. I mean, even hunters, will bring a soft bag with them so that they're not. I mean, my dad used to sit in his car prior to going hunting. We'd scope hills for deer and deer sign. And he would sit there for, dude, I'm telling you, 2.5 hours with his binoculars, free-handed. And in like 30 seconds, I would have my binoculars on the edge of the truck when you'd roll down the window. And because after a while, I'm like, I can't see shit. So I don't have the upper body stamina my dad did. I mean, that guy, I remember just watching him scope with his scope on a gun for an hour on a hill.
It's tiring. Oh,
dude,
man.
it's ridiculous. Like, there's a reason why YouTube will have the what do you call it? The videos where like people are being challenged just to hold their hands out for a specific amount of time. And it's like a lot of people there, just don't have it. And I lift weights, and I still, because everybody has different strengths and what you can do. That's not something I'm good with. Also, Forza Horizon 5 on the cloud looks amazing at 30 FPS, and the sense of speed feels more intense. I would say cloud games is where some of these will go the S version, I personally think. I think we're going to start seeing somebody say, if you want co-op in Baldur's Gate, do the cloud version. Okay. And the S version just won't have it. Like, we're going to start seeing that because the S version has the different RAM. We'll start to see games doing that.
Well, that makes sense.
Flexi says, I'm obsessed with having 60. When I find out it's 30 just to accommodate ray trace shadows, oh my God, ray trace. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's stupid.
That's what Abssii was saying earlier, was that some options, it's like a trade-off that makes no sense. It's like, I don't need ray traced this. You
that
guys
is not a reason for why a game should be 30. You know what I mean?
It's not a reason. It's not. I hate that shit. And by the way, I'm going to state it. I think Alan Wake looks phenomenal with no ray tracing. Does it look as good as with ray tracing? No, but they do a good job. Lighting? Yeah.
They do obviously a good job. Like their indirect path tracing is really, really nice, and like
it's awesome.
And the reflections, it's really nice. But even their SSR, you're not going to be sitting there and like moving the screen.
Pixel peepers.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, pixel peepers.
It's pixel peeping. It's pixel peeping, unequivocally pixel peeping. But their rendered stuff is really, their baked stuff is amazing, and their low setting, like low is high. Let's low is high.
Oh, that's another thing. PC games
and
need
high
to
is
dump
ultra.
That shit now. They need to start. How many times have I played a PC game where I go from low to ultra and I look at this stuff and I'll be all, what now? What? What? I mean, you get it. You see something happen, but you're like, or for me, every fucking time, it's the ultra and high for shadows, where you turn it on high and you're
shadows? Yeah.
I'm getting 7 FPS more, but I'm going to tell you, even if I wasn't moving.
Or contact shadows.
Contact shadowing.
What is this doing?
Ambient occlusion is the only one that I think you really notice when you turn ambient occlusion on.
When you get the diffused shadows, right?
It looks
like and nice and diffused.
It makes things look 3D. Like it makes a wall that's edging another wall just look better when there's that.
Yeah, it gives it that color.
Yeah. I mean, ambient occlusion, it sounds weird. If somebody said, like, in all honesty, that's one of the very few options in graphics right now. I think ambient occlusion is the only one where I look at it and I'm like, yes. Ray tracing, I get it, but they sold us, they lied. NVIDIA lied, and so did AMD, where they're like, ray tracing is like the now future. No, it's not. It's the 10 years from now when it's been optimized in 10,000 ways. It's just even a 4090, man, and that is 3 times the cost of a Series X. Yeah. 3 times the cost, man. It's like, and then it's like, it is a bit too expensive.
It is very, 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 I think they did like the performance per value isn't that good this gen, right? The performance per value is way off. It's way off.
Come on.
Yeah. Like ridiculous. Remember Titan cards?
Yeah.
Titan cards were like $1,000, right?
Yep.
Or were they more?
They were more at the time, because Johnny got the TI, which, the Titan was in some things was even higher than that, and the Titan, or his 3090 Ti, I can't remember what he's got, but that one was super expensive, and that was still a step down, in price from what we used to see. I think, when do the Titans even still occur, or is it just the TIs?
I think the 90s are the new. I thought the 90s are the new Titans.
They might be, yeah. I mean, here's the thing,
the prices.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The prices.
Yeah. I mean, mine was $2,200, dude. You're cringing,
dude.
That's a whole PC. That's a whole
ridiculous, man. Yeah, and even with mining having taken a step down, we knew this. Everybody in my chat would be like, dude, we're gonna see prices drop, and I'm like, no, we're not, because the prices have been met by the consumer. That if they weren't, that would be a thing. And also, these companies love to give you that premier card with everything, and then you get the cards a step or two down, and they're like barely any RAM. At least now we've stepped up in RAM. I think that was the big one too. RAM used to be such a deal, man. Yeah, but I'm talking about the RAM on the cards, the VRAM. You get the VRAM.
Oh, the VRAM.
You would get cards with 8, and you would, it would be fast, but you couldn't run it fast because it would fill up that, the 4K, textures would fill it up.
Don't even think about 4K, dude.
Yeah. I guess a lot of people should probably look at 1440p as a good middle ground, but you can also run a 4K monitor at 1440p. So it's like,
you can do that.
Choose your resolution.
Is it more noticeable I think 1440p is more noticeable that it's less pixels if you're on a 4K monitor rather than a 1440p monitor, or is it just I've gotten accustomed?
The upscaling on the cards is pretty good from 1440p to 4K.
Oh, DLSS?
Not even DLSS. You could use NVIDIA's integer scaling. And the 4K monitors, 4K TVs have such good screens, and they're good, and the cards themselves are good. Dude, I have a friend who plays all of his games because he has an older card, and he doesn't even use DLSS most of the time because DLSS takes some GPU. He uses integer scaling, which on handhelds, it's a godsend, by the way. In fact, some people with the Legion Pro, that's like their thing right now, is figuring out how to get integer scaling, because FSR and DLSS have some issue. Well, not DLSS, FSR. But there's like lossless scale on Steam is $5, and I think it has 9 upscaling techniques. It's ridiculous, because people talk about the top 2 or 3, XEL, what is it, XESS for Intel, and then DLSS and FSR, and there's also like, bicubic, but you wouldn't want to use that. But yeah, there's a ton of different ways you can do it. And if you get a little small handheld screen, dude, you can upscale those, get a bunch of frame rate back and run them at a pretty low resolution. They still look good. It just depends on the size of the screen.
I'm so happy DLAA is a thing now, because honestly, if you want to run things on native, I don't like TAA. I mean, DLSS looks way better than TAA. TAA, It's just hit or miss, mostly miss. Like you get a lot of weird MS Paint shit with it. You know what I mean? Shimmering and stuff. Yeah.
TAA also, it's like SMAA. SMAA was a really cool anti-aliasing, but it did the entire screen, so your font would get rubbery looking. Your font would be like, it'd be like me with a wide screen where the beard starts, you know, where you start looking like you put on some turkey Thanksgiving fat. You know, it just, you'd look at the font and you'd be like, well, the screen looks good, but the font is messy. And now they've got, you know, ways around that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. I always tell people to mess around with like reshade and stuff like that to see, you know, if they, especially if they don't have the best card. There's all kinds of shit you can do.
Dude, reshade with no performance loss, you can make shit look incredible, as if like you turned on like ultra shadows and shit like that, with just with color, just with post processing.
Add like 1 dot of sharpening on TAA and it looks so much better, because TAA is like, what the fuck is going, it's like looking through wax paper, you know. I mean, admittedly there's some games where it does look good, but sorry chat, I'm not ignoring you. Let's see, what's everybody saying? We need DLSS technology in consoles. FSR is pretty good, man. FSR is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with FSR, but yeah, they need to continue to improve them for sure. I think all of you guys know me, man. I love cheats. If you can cheat it, do it. Like, if you can make it 40 is good, 40 FPS. That's a cheat. It's not a cheat, but it's certainly not the mainstream. And if that works, put that in your game. But I think it's awesome when people figure that stuff out. I mean, unless you're a tech channel who's zooming in 800%, the normal gamer sees
I'm doing that.
I'm not, man. When I review the games, I do, but.
Oh, sorry. It was just I agree with Penumbrum here. The TAA is very soft on Red Dead. There's a mod for that, so just Google like a TAA mod to improve.
Oh, is there a TAA mod for Red Dead?
Yeah.
Red Dead is so old and so amazing looking. It boggles my mind that it's in the top 5. Like, if somebody said, I admit Cyberpunk is glitzy, but it also isn't doing much. You know, the people aren't doing much. There's still bad pathing on the people. There's all these. And then you do Red Dead, and even without mods, man, I mean, Jesus,
it's beautiful. It's amazing.
It's like, I remember when I first started the channel, I was like, I don't care about the games or art discussion. But then when you start seeing like a Red Dead or something, you start looking at it going, yeah, if I pause, that's a Bob Ross painting right there. Like, that's, Or you start seeing people take pictures in Spiderman, you're like, yeah, that is art. Johnny's taken some pictures in Spiderman where I'm like, man, dude, that looks incredible. Like, just genuinely good. What are some other high ones? What are the highest, anybody in chat, what's the best looking, what are some of the best looking games? I
think Alan Wake 2 is super up there, especially in, there's a spot I love to look at, and it's so weird. It's in the Oh Dear Diner, and just looking at one of the tables and how the lights coming in and bouncing off the little, there's like little packets of sugar and shit, man,
and the donuts,
and just like the mugs and stuff there, and the way they reflect, it's so beautiful, man.
I like the more mundane places as well in Alan Wake. I mean, I like the town is a little one note. I noticed, like, you just sort of go through the main thoroughfare, but the places in the town are awesome looking.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the dark place looking, like the neon lights on the very dark area in New York. You know what I mean?
When I was playing Dead Island 2, the DLC, there's a diner, a 50s diner. You have an awesome boss battle, a very fun boss. And you come up on a 1950s car parked on the road, and then you come around the corner, and this diner comes in with the old style neon, the flickering neon, and like the front end that's got the theater, like black and white stickers instead of an LED saying what the movie is. It's like, you know, special. I don't remember what it says, but you see that kind of presentation. That part looked awesome. Like,
for sure.
Dead Island 2 looks legitimately really good at times, except it's got really low resolution textures in some places where you look at a pile of blood. Have you ever seen that in some games? Gore looks almost worse because it's not detailed. You're like, what is this mess?
that's why there's a lot of up-res blood mods out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. There are
4K
up-res blood
textures.
mods in a lot of games. Yeah, a lot of games you get the blood that's like that, almost like greasy flat, and you're all, dude, that looks almost worse than real blood. Like it's giving me body horror issues. Let's see, what are people saying? Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima looked awesome. I think on the PC that would look incredible. Watch Dogs Legion on PC, I would agree. Watch Dogs Legion on the Series S of all things did ray tracing and looked phenomenal. Once it got patched. Horizon Zero Dawn, yep. I'm surprised nobody's mentioned Zelda.
Forbidden West.
Oh, Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2. Yeah, Last of Us 2, right?
Yeah, it looked amazing. Yep.
Dead Island 2 was what Redfall hoped to be. That is pretty true, to be honest. Except not vampires.
You mean fun?
Yeah, engaging, fun, worked.
Engaging. AI worked.
Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima, by the way, looks incredible, but you can tell it's old now.
Can you?
I played it recently. Yes. Yeah, you can tell it's old now. I think the
last time I played it was last year. I tried it on the PS5 with the 60 FPS shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody said Plague Tale Requiem. Yes, that game.
I still
the Plague Tale games.
Yeah, I heard.
Those things.
I heard they look really good.
Dude, those it's so funny. You're all, hey, what games you making? Plague Tale and Microsoft Flight Sim. That's a developer with some balls, man. Like Flight Sim is one of the legitimate. Flight Sim, by the way, is probably my top, just because every time I turn that game on, I'm like stunned.
It's a benchmark game, right?
It's a benchmark game, yeah. And you're just looking at it going like, what the? But it doesn't get up close like some of these games, obviously.
For sure.
But it just Dead Space Remake on PC looks amazing. That is true as well. Plague Tale, I would say, anybody who hasn't played Plague Tale, you're missing out on one of the best single-player narrative. Because I always joke about not getting feelings. I would say in that one, I was like, there might be a feeling. There might be a feeling creeping up in my cold heart. That game is awesome. Guardians of the Galaxy? Beautiful landscapes in Guardians. Okay, so Guardians of the Galaxy does have some fantastic spots.
Really cool planets, right? Really
and
cool looking planets.
When you go to the main planet and everybody's walking around and talking, you're like, dude, they nailed
it. That shit was really cool.
They nailed it. Isn't it such it'll always surprise. Continue. Sorry. I was just going to say what I always say with that game.
It was like a Citadel moment, kind of, you know? You see all the people go in shops and bars.
Except, Abssii, the Citadel barely had anybody moving. Right?
No, but you had those dudes, the drones. Remember those guys where you had to hunt down like 30 of them?
Yeah, had to hunt down 30 of those.
Or 50, 52 or something.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's just, I love Mass Effect, but the Citadel, I hate when I go into some place and everybody's stuck. And by the way, I'm going to mention a game that's brand new, and you just said that does this, and I hate it, and that's Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 will put you in a place where guys won't move, and you have to go around them. And there's the autopsy scene.
Oh, yeah.
There's the scenes in the bars where if somebody's standing there, there's no AI at all, which, by the way, it's what we were talking about. With no AI, they don't have to worry about using CPU cycles. And you go to a guy, and you're like, dude, I've got a gun and a flashlight in a bar. Do you not think somebody be like, who the fuck is this crazy guy? But instead, they're all, they're like bullies in high school.
Not a lot of you know what did have a lot of movement, though, was Hogwarts. Had a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. Students going left and right. They're playing with their brooms. They're casting spells. They're constantly engaged.
Hogwarts
There's like snippets of encounters you'd run into these guys stealing fireworks, getting kicked out of store, and then like later on you run into them using the fireworks. And you know what I mean?
That's
There's a lot of
makes a game when something's happening and like you see it later, because we see stuff happen right then, and then later they're standing there at a box doing nothing. So that one time where they're like doing that makes your brain go, what else is here? Like I love that feeling of when you're like a little kid going, like when you see presents, you open one, it's good, and you're like, what else is under the Christmas tree? It's like, what else is in this game? Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention some other ones. Arkham Knight. Dude, seriously, I know I gave Arkham Knight some shit. I powered through it with a pretty powerful PC at the time, but I got to say the Arkham games still look really good. Maybe the fight scenes, you start to notice a lot of mischaracterization of moves. Like you'll break a guy's leg and it'll fly out of the screen to the right, and you're like, what happened? But Arkham Knight looks premium. Oh, and then somebody said Ori and Will of the Wisps. Yeah, those, dude. That game is. See? Yeah, there's the Ascent. The Ascent looked.
Oh yeah, the Ascent had a lot of good detail. A lot of detail.
Dude, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get his name wrong. He does cameras on Twitter.
The modder.
The modder. Yeah, and I follow him. I'm even a patron. Damn it, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, but anyway, he releases all these mods, and he released one for Alan Wake, and the developers took it and made some pictures. They were like, oh man, this guy does good work. And so they went and got the mod, because it's not one of those you have to pay for DLSS bullshit mods. It's like, I have hacked it, because I got to admit, I don't agree with that. But
it's bullshit, yeah.
This guy, and admittedly they did work, but I don't want to pay for FPS. Or in that way. It feels weird. Yeah. But dude, oh man, I can't remember his name. If anybody starts with an A, I think. And I talk to him a lot. I feel bad when I can't. There's so many people I talk. No, his name's not. But he does mods for cameras. That's what he's known for. And I don't know how he hacks the games, but I was using his Ascent mod and didn't know. Fran, yes, Boma. Boma's his name. Thank you very much.
Start with an A.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Bouma. Yeah. So if you guys get a chance and you want camera mods for your PC game, this guy. I was doing his camera mod for Ascent, didn't know that it was his, and he was following me, and he's like, dude, that's my camera mod. I appreciate using it. And when I was talking to him, I was like, it's not just a camera mod. It's that he's figured out ways. The new thing he's doing now is where you can actually tell the game where to move, so you can set up your own camera pans. So you can quite literally say, move forward 5 feet. He's making a camera system in a lot of his hacks, and you're just like, dude, seriously, this guy needs to work for.
Is that how I see people? They're posting all these beautiful Alan Wake screenshots where you there's no photo mode in there.
Absolutely, yes. They're using NVIDIA for some, the filter, Alt G or whatever, and you can go into NVIDIA.
No, but like the cameras are. Like
they're using his.
Character would be.
They're using his.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah. He's awesome. He deserves all the credit, because I wouldn't have been able to do the video without it, but also his ability to make something where I have to guess what game it is, because some games look a little like Red Dead and a Sunset could look a little like Alan Wake, depending on where you take the picture. But some of the stuff I've seen is like pure art, man, from that guy. He is fantastic. So if you guys get a chance, check him out on Twitter and again on Patreon. He's very good. Dude is doing cinematography in games. Yeah, he is. Ridiculous. Mario Wonder, somebody said. Have you done Mario Wonder?
Yeah, I played some today as well. I love that game.
Dude.
Yeah. It's so fun.
In a different style, but it's fun and looks good.
Man, every level is a completely new thing with new mechanics, and God, it's so fun, man. Yeah. So fun. I really hope they do Super Mario Maker 3 with stuff they add from this Mario, dude. I really hope they do that.
Or what you mean? Or maybe just Super Mario Maker 3 is Wonder, but with the level editing tools.
They every new Super Mario Maker, they add the newest 2D Mario in there, like the mechanics from that with the tools. And I'm just looking at stuff and constantly being like, oh my God, imagine what people would make with this tool and that tool, and damn.
ESO, somebody said, dude, I would this is I think the T is silent, but Packet 90, Packet, but he was talking about ESO. ESO also looks very good for an older game. I would agree. What else do we got for this? Was supposed to be GTA. So anything else for GTA 6?
Well, their stocks went up. I posted a little picture there on the Discord.
Picture.
Yeah, the stocks went up. Take-Two.
10% rise. I saw Dino does stocks. I saw him post about the possible leak this morning, because it was last night, and I was like, if anybody's smart, they're buying a couple shares just for the 10% rise. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for GTA 6. I also think first-person mode will be in there day one. If it's not, it would be such a loss to play GTA and
I don't like first-person mode, but it's nice to switch cameras and
Even, are we talking GTA or at all?
GTA and Red Dead.
Oh, really? Okay.
I usually in games first person. I much prefer first person, but there's something with their animation systems and stuff, and I just like seeing the characters move and stuff like that.
I just think I like driving in
You like driving first person?
I like driving in first person in GTA.
I mean, same in Cyberpunk. I never switched to third person. Even in Starfield, I stayed first person. I just loved being in the ship in first person, dude.
Yeah, but that's also because I mean, their work on animation is nowhere near the level of GTA, you know.
For sure. But also I like when you'd go into like hyperdrive or whatever, like you start pressing buttons and shit like that, and you start like moving around.
Oh, it looks so good. And remember, people didn't know there was the, you know, get out of hell free, and you can just quit in battles. You can basically rage quit in your spaceship. Yeah. Everybody, if you get a chance, tweet out we're doing this. I appreciate everybody joining us for the GTA discussion. Real quick, we're going to cover this Spiderman controversy. Okay, so I don't know if you saw this. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say controversy? For Spider-Man?
For what?
Abssii? For Spider-Man?
Oh my God. Which one? Because there's a lot of controversies for that one.
Basically, they've stated Miles will be the Spider-Man in the future, and I want to make it clear.
Who gives a fuck?
Well, not only that, I want to make it clear. I actually wasn't in love with the ending of Spider-Man 2 and how they handled it. But Miles being Spider-Man in the future, I have no issue with. But it's very difficult to even say anything because I think it was Paris who does Kind of Funny, maybe. But I follow him as a person, not his podcast. I follow him, and he was saying all this controversy, and I said, man, I don't even know what we're talking about. Like, do I want to know? And he's like, no. And of course, that made me look, right? I was like, okay, I got to see what this controversy is. And it's basically the age-old thing of, like, Spider-Man, and then Miles Morales. People wanted that name change or whatever, but it's like when you look at how they're doing it in the games, they pretty clearly, they call each other Spider-Man.
I don't, listen, man, for me personally, I mean, I get there's a lot of people, you know, that love Peter and Spider-Man and comics and all that stuff. You do, yeah. That's completely fine. But for me, like, Spider-Man is Spider-Man. You know, I like to swing around and fight shit. Like, I don't give a fuck who it is. To be honest, man, I don't care. I don't care at all. Yeah, I don't care.
I would say
Spider-Man. I
do wish the ending for Spider-Man 2 was better. Because I think I know a lot of people felt the emotional tug, but you know me, I need a little bit more than most people. But I was like, it wasn't handled. There were it's still handled well, but that, beside the point, they called each other Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man. Yeah. You know, I think they were doing that on purpose because they knew where they were going. But yeah, I have no real issues with it. I do think that people brought up that the creator had stated. There were multiple quotes I saw, but one was like, Spider-Man is Peter, and then if we wanted to do a different one, we should just name him a different one. Then I saw another quote that looked like he was saying anybody can be Spider-Man. I'm more of the fact that anybody can be any masked whatever. So if you put a mask on him, they did call Spider-Gwen, I think. You know, I don't know, just Spider-Woman, because, of course, you have different body shapes.
She's a woman.
But overall, I'm not too... I mean... I see this hatred where it's like you can't even talk, because mine is a middle ground where I'm like, I just like, out of all the things
to care about, that's something I just really
very low or not at all
don't care about at all. Like I know, I don't know, man. I guess it's just not my style of like, I like the story. It's not my style of like characters, or like I've never laughed if Peter said something funny, or like I don't. You know what I mean? I'm not in love with the characters. I like the story was cool and fun and cool shit happened, but I just don't give a shit. Yeah, maybe I'm not the best to, like, you know, judge like if it's a big deal, because Peter Parker is always Spider-Man and Spider-Man's Peter Parker. But and then you got a point. Like, I mean, Peter is Spider-Man, but I just I want them to do new things with gameplay. I want them to do new things with side quests and stop giving us MJ missions.
Yeah.
Please stop. I don't care if you make her OP or give her a gun. Stop.
Yeah.
And some of the quests and shit were like really on the nose, like super woke, you know what I mean? But other than that, like, I don't.
I didn't feel the super, but woke for me requires a ton more than it does the random person on the internet, so like it would require a ton for me to be like,
it's not the ones you think of, like not the, there's some that people say it's woke. I don't care about those. There's some wording and dialogue that, you know what I mean? Some of it, like the usage of like BIPOC and shit, like I don't like it, because like it's like categorizing everyone who's not white into like one big group. Like, oh, everyone's just BIPOC, and
oh yeah, that's odd. I think overall, and because I'm coming into comic books late, late, a decade ago, and many of the superheroes that were masked were not the same person. So I think what I read, I was just like, I don't know who this character is going to, which not actor, but which persona in this world is going to be this masked character, because this is certainly not the only time this has happened. So to me, I'm just like, okay, whatever, masked guys. It's almost like in wrestling, by the way, this happened a lot, where you'd actually get wrestlers pretend to be each other if they had a mask on. Lucha Libre guys are known for that sometimes. So you would get these, and to me, I was just like, okay, whatever. But I will stand by the fact that I don't think the handoff was the best, like as well written, not well written, but as like poignant as maybe they wanted it to be, to where it like made more sense. It was more of a lazy. Not lazy as in the writing, but lazy, I'm going to do this, you do that. And this is going to sound weird, but I don't want to get too much about the ending. But we've seen movies where like somebody gets really hurt and then somebody has to take up whatever mantle. I almost would have rather had that, where it's like, where,
Peter dies.
Not dies, but wouldn't it be sort of cool if you're like, dude, superheroes rough, man. Superhero is rough, like something like, for example,
you don't get paid.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man. I know people aren't a fan as much as the others, but as I've watched it and rewatched it, I'm like, wow, Gwen dies at the end. Like and we know that, people have known that before. But when I watched it, I was like, this is the only one where there's real danger for people close to him. And the game has done it with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, which I actually thought was pretty cool, because most of the shows, one of them is always alive. Until the Marvel ones, but those are like, they're sort of ridiculous in how they do stuff. But anyway, it was interesting to see that everybody was talking about it.
I can definitely sympathize, man. Like I can definitely sympathize. Like if I think of a protagonist I really, really like, and
the idea of switching them. Yeah,
I completely sympathize. For me personally, I like the gameplay the most out of anything, and I want them to focus on that. Yeah.
Let's jump to Mass Effect. So they did, I think, two Mass Effect like mini trailers of a Shepard, I assume, or that type of character. The N7 armor was on him and stuff. There was nothing there. It's the typical shit where it's like, hey, here's a trailer for a trailer. Here's an announcement for an announcement.
Teasers.
But, I want to play Mass Effect, so I'm cool with that. Like even with Andromeda, I'm crossing my fingers for a Mass Effect, whatever they call it, 4. I think there's a couple code names out there. We don't know what it'll be like. Did you watch the trailers? Because it really is just a dude walking.
It's just a teaser,
played.
Right?
It's already been it's already played twice in the time that I just did the spiel. Mass Effect, you weren't affected by 3's ending like I was, I don't think. But you were impacted by Andromeda. Right? Yeah, and the Lost DLC, there was a couple things that sort of fixed a couple issues. Andromeda didn't burn you out on Mass Effect, though? You're still excited?
No, because when Andromeda came, a lot of people were super looking forward to it for a while, but at that point, I wasn't a Mass Effect fan. I had never played the games like a lot. I tried them out a little bit. So at that point, I didn't care. I also did not play a Mass Effect Andromeda at the time, because I saw all the videos and shit, and I was like, whoa, okay. I played it a couple of years later for like an hour or something, and thought it was like the worst thing I've ever witnessed. I hated it. I hated the writing. I thought it was completely very boring. So I just stopped playing it. But then after that, so I wasn't burnt out, because there was no burnout. There was no burn in.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
After that, the Legendary Edition came out, and I fell in love with the trilogy. It was fantastic. The writing made Andromeda look like a 10-year-old wrote it, dude. It was just like the character writing and Mass Effect is some of the best, man. So that's when I fell in love with it, after shitting on Andromeda.
Okay, I'll admit I was wrong. So I was complaining last night. I didn't think Mass Effect's writing I don't think it's great, but if you compare it to Andromeda, it is great. And then also some of the characters, not all, but you are right. I had not given fair due. There are some characters though the writing is great.
I thought the character writing was fantastic. Some of the DLCs as well.
Yeah, you are right. I wasn't even thinking about. I mean, we did talk about the characters in the in the Patron chat, but I was like fixated on as a whole. It was sort of 1980s or maybe even 2000s generic sci-fi where they try to dumb it down. Not the TV show sci-fi, because those guys will go hard. They'll be like, you catch up with us. We don't give a shit if you even understand anything. Foundation is ridiculous. Like, if you watch it, you're like, what the hell? But you're right. Yeah, I mean, you do. But here's the problem. Those characters have to sit there for some time to have a poignant moment, like Morden with the singing, and it had to be me. Those took three, like, it took 2 or 3 games for those to solidify.
Especially a lot of them from 2 to 3, right? So a lot of them took like you connect with them first, and it makes the like resolution way more effective than it is. Yeah, I think it benefited heavily from being a connected trilogy with the same characters. We don't see much of that anymore. But games are getting bigger as well these days. So you know, maybe in one game you can have the time to connect with certain characters. I don't know.
Let me tell you the best writing to me as a character. I wasn't a big fan of Garrus as much as everybody else because he was sort of, I knew where he was going. The best writing to me of all things was Rex and Shepard just saying Rex, Shepard. That's all they say. They're like, they're bros. They don't need to, they're not hugging. They're not going and shooting. It's like that. And you see the GIFs now where it's like Rex, Shepard, Rex. It's a joke because it doesn't happen that often. But that once I realized, I was Rex, like, man. Dude, exactly. Do you know why? Because Rex was a character without Shepard. He had all the racial stuff where Garrus, he did somewhat, but he came together more when like
Garrus wasn't my favorite. Yeah, I don't think he was in my top.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's Rex, and then there's Morden, and then there's who else did you? I
really like the ancient guy.
Dude, forgot his name, Thornton
with the glasses.
With the glasses. The martial artist with the that guy. He had a sickness.
Yes,
yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Him. I really liked the scientist a lot more than obviously. You know who I loved actually, just only because of the ending of him and Mass Effect 3 was just amazing. Was the Gaussian guy, the robot, the dude with
not Gex,
the gecko, not gecko. The fuck, man, I forgot all these races names and
so did I.
The robot guy,
the robot guy,
the alien robot guy, like the
Geth.
I
don't know why. Gex is a video game.
Yeah,
good
Thane,
game, by the way.
I love Thane.
Thane was awesome.
I liked what's her name? The girl you help in a trial and shit.
Tali?
You know, you do your Tali. Yeah. Tali had a really cool in Mass Effect 3. She had a really cool thing.
Do you know
who
why?
Else did I like?
So here's the thing, dude. All those characters you mentioned, even though I wasn't hot on
Legion.
Tali
that
much.
Name was Legion.
Oh, Legion.
Sorry,
thanks. All the characters you mentioned all have amazing stories prior to meeting Shepard. Did you notice? Like, they all had a questionable thing. They all had something that was poignant that mattered, so you didn't need to crux it in the game. You could like slowly they filtered it out. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a hot take because nobody's going to agree, or well, I'm sure somebody will agree. One of my favorites is Ashley of all people, and the reason why is because her arc, if you follow her arc correctly, is fucking fantastic. She goes from like being accurately so, by the way, like a speciesist. You know, she's like, these other races, these other species I don't like, they're not trustworthy, blah, blah, blah. And then later it all sort of like comes together where it's like over time, you know, you see that not everybody is whatever they are, which, you know, whatever you see at face value or whatever your past experiences are. And so I actually thought her arc, and it was so weird because I saw people be like, oh, you know, she's a racist or she's a speciesist. And I was like, but it makes sense. That character. So was, by the way, so was Rex. Rex was.
Yeah.
But it's like,
she
it's
was
okay
she was
if
deeply
you hate
affected.
humans. Yeah, she was deeply affected. So, and by the way, and then in the second one, her, the group gets attacked, and you can pick Caden, who bitches all the, like, Caden always died in my game. Like, that dude was always dead. I hated that.
Yeah, you're gonna hate me because I actually died for, like, I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't get to experience her arc because while I didn't like Caden that much more, but he had his moments where he was like I was like, it's like a cute little puppy,
Yeah, he had the brain thing, the implants, which was a cool story. But yeah, I loved Ashley's arc, and I think there's the people who want stuff instant, and I don't. I'm much more okay with, like, it might take a while. I didn't heat up on Morden at all at first either. I didn't like his mannerisms. First, they were a little annoying, like your little brother, and you're talking all the time. You're like, oh my god! But then it turned out to be amazing.
I love the pilot played by what's his name, Seth.
Seth, he's good. A lot of people hate Joker. A lot of people also hate the bald.
Who hates Joker?
A lot of people do not like Joker.
He had them like really, really funny, very discreet, funny moments with the
humor
with
sometimes.
The AI.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. Yes.
Dude, where it's like, dude, he'd like say something or ask a question, and you're like, no fucking way. You can pick up on some stuff.
Oh yeah, when
like
you walk into the front
comedy.
and he'll be like, something about sex with an AI, and you're like, wait, what's he talking about right now?
Who is Joker?
Yeah, dude.
Who doesn't like Joker?
A lot of people do not like Joker.
Wow.
Maybe they don't like him in real life. You have that kind of thing too, where you sort of, and the same thing with Ashley, and the same thing for me with Morden, where when they hit, sometimes you don't stay with them because you're just like, whoa, that hit me wrong. And that happened in Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3, dude. I know a lot of people who hated I had somebody say that I was anti-women or whatever because I didn't like the fucking ghoul-nosed chick.
Who?
The green one in Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, not a lot of people liked her at first. Yeah, what's her name? Lae'zel.
Yeah, and I even mained her for a while, and I'm like, no, she's just... As a character, she is not likable. It has nothing to do with,
I also she's definitely not likable.
I didn't like Gale that much either. He was funny.
I didn't like Gale that much.
I started to turn off of him too. But it's
Lae'zel,
like, it has nothing to do with her being. It's like her. I did not gel with her attitude. It was bad.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%, and purposefully so. I just liked her a lot later on because she got a lot of depth, whereas like someone like KARAK is like a bro from the start, where you're like, I love KARAK, but like the depth of her kind of pales in comparison.
Shadowheart paled off at the end, I think.
I really like Shadowheart.
I liked her too,
like
but
her voice.
Think that
I like her voice.
She sort of petered off as the writing petered. It's like as you play the game.
You got into a resolution with her in like the middle of the game,
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah. But there's still like some more for her in Act 3.
The growth maybe doesn't like pop off for that one. But dude, it's so like I think all of them are written pretty well for the characters, even though I didn't like them all in Mass Effect. That's one of the things I'm hoping for is like a new race. Well, new couple races.
They always had really good lore for the different races the different interactions between them, and they all made sense and had a place in the universe. You know what
and
I mean?
The narrator, and just listening to the logs for hours, where he would talk about like some science. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I love that there was a narrator.
I love
that. Who were the godlike creatures that would like telepathically speak? There's like some funny shit going on.
You mean
there
like
too.
Unhappy? I just said it last night. I was like, I want that to be the main character. The squid guys who are floating. If I could be Shepard as that guy, and he's like, he's like cautious anger. I will kill you. I would kill for somebody to make a mod where you can be him as Shepard. It would be his little hat, a hat like resting on his gelatinous
companion.
Head. Yes. Dude.
Companion, dude.
That would be amazing to have him as a companion where, cautious optimism. Yeah. Maybe we can go.
You can be so funny with it.
Yeah. Dude, the way he talked was like an elephant. I think they did mimic the slower plodding look of an elephant. I mean, you could even sort of see that, but they were awesome. Soulskeeper, $24 super chat. Good day, gents. Are you guys still excited for a new Mass Effect? That's what we're talking about right now. Dragon Age, considering the recent layoffs, Anthem, and generally being a husk of the company. I am, but I agree with everything you said. But I am.
Layoffs are terrible for devs and stuff like that. but it has nothing. I don't think it's very indicative of any quality of any game, because it's just how the market is going. It's like everyone's laying off shit, and it's not necessarily laying off like key writers or key, and it could be anything from like testers to marketing to, I don't know, but everyone's doing it. So like if you're worried about that, you have to be worried about like 90% of tech companies these days, because everyone's laying off.
Can I point something out too, that almost every single AAA game ever, including Red Dead, had layoffs prior to its release?
Yeah. Everyone has layoffs. Yeah.
Everybody has layoffs, and you still get a classic even with layoffs. And then later people are like, well, that classic, and I'm the first one to say BioWare of now is nowhere near what they were. Or
nothing.
Or
nothing.
They're not the same. Or Arcane.
Yeah.
But they also, it might take them a while to, it might be something where it's like, hey, this is a 10-year gestation. I've had employees that I worked with that you hire because you see a future, if that makes sense. And you're like, and I'm sure I was hired that way, because when I came in and Beard and I'm absolutely sure I've got hired where people are like, this he's a bit crusty now, but it's like, we can work with this because
the reason I'm very skeptical is because it's BioWare. That's all. Because BioWare hasn't released anything good. And so when's the last time BioWare released something good, dude? 2000 Mass Effect? Was it Mass Effect? It was Mass Effect, wasn't it? Like Inquisition
I would say Mass
was
Effect 2, because I was not a big fan of 3. So I would say Mass Effect 2 was the last one that I was genuinely impressed with.
There you go.
But
that's been a while, man.
It is, yeah. But I mean, who knows, man? Like who knows? Who knows? The thing is, if I just looked at layoffs, ignoring the layoffs thing, because like I said, the classics you're playing right now had layoffs prior that, or somebody quits or whatever. Those kind of even Vampire the Masquerade 1, which everybody loves, had a bunch of layoffs prior. But when you look at their track record, it's pretty rough. And by the way, I want to say thanks to the People's Show, who reminded me Elcor is the race I was talking about.
Elcor, yep, me too. Yeah.
I love all those guys. Dude, the side races in Mass Effect are they're not always what you expect. They're not always bipedal. You said the walkers on the Mass Effect Citadel with their 6 or 8 legs, and then you got the Elcor, and you see these characters that are like, you did pick bipedal for all your partners, but I think that has to do with mobility and animation than it does. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a tech thing for sure.
Yeah, it's a tech thing. What some of the other races you hear about and never see in Mass Effect, I would like to see in Mass Effect. What are we looking at? What is this? 5, if you count 4 as being Andromeda? Which I don't.
No, don't count Andromeda. 4.
Dude, would it be... So there's 3 games in this world that I know of that are treated as the old saying is, I'm not saying this, the old saying is redheaded stepchild, which it always meant like treated poorly. And so I'm just going to use this old language. One of them, Batman Origins. It doesn't get in any of the remakes. It doesn't ever get talked about because it was a different company. And so when you see the trilogy, Origins is always removed. And then the other game that always gets removed is there were 3 games. I think Mass Effect Andromeda will be this way. But there's Batman. Everybody, if you're in chat and you hear me talking about this in the Discord, what's the other game I always mention? Because it's for sure Batman, and there's one other game.
A game that gets left out?
Mass Effect, Fallout New Vegas. They pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah. And you don't see, there's no talks of remakes. And again, different company.
Oh, like the companies. Oh, like Bethesda and shit. Oh, okay,
when they do a trilogy, they're not going to be included. When they're going to do an FPS improvement, it'll be Fallout 4 or 3.
Gotcha.
And so they treat them like these children they don't like. Which you get that with parents. Sometimes they have like almost a favorite child. I mean, that's the unfortunate. But, dude, Batman Origins, I'm sorry. It's my favorite Batman. I will fight somebody at the end of the day. It's my favorite Batman, and they treat it like they won't even mention it. And I get that it's another company, but it's like, can't you work together? We've seen it happen. Batman Origins is fucking phenomenal. And they're all treated so poorly. What Dead Space 3 is treated poorly? Is it?
It's bad, right? Isn't Dead Space 3 bad?
I think Dead Space 3 was... Yeah, I think Dead Space 3 was considered maybe the worst of them.
It's probably a fun co-op game, but it's not like it's not really Dead Space.
Not a good Dead Space.
It's in that time where everyone was trying to do the action shooter, third person, cover shooter thing, and it was like hopping on the bandwagon. We had a lot of co-op games though. That was an awesome time. Everything just come out and it was co-op, 2-player third-person shooter, 2-player third-person Army of Two,
Army of Two. Playing your gun as a guitar. That was such a weird game. It was so flippant, it was fun as fuck. It was great.
Aggro,
Dark Souls 2. I would agree. I think Dark Souls 2 a lot of times is, you know what I mean? You'll be like, did you play Dark Souls 1 or 3? And you'll be like, well, what about 2? And people will go, I don't even know. Like, I never played that.
You know what I like what devs do though, and Dark Souls 2 is a good example of that. And I think there was another example. American Nightmare from Alan Wake. Where
Fair.
For example, American Nightmare from Alan Wake was considered bad by a lot of people, but even in those bad games, they take stuff from it and use it super effectively. Like, it had great ideas like the loop stuff, right? They take that and they use it effectively, and
they use it for their further games. I mean, it's
further games
and are done in Alan Wake too. So it's like
and in the case of Dark Souls 2, there was like the dual wielding mechanic they had, and a couple of others where they take stuff from that and use it effectively in good games. But like, it's just because a game is bad doesn't mean it has like, I want to see Legion. I know you really like Legion, but it's not regarded as like the best Watch Dogs.
It's probably regarded as the poorest, maybe even.
Probably, but it had an amazing idea, right? Where I want to see that like further. So
I would agree with that. I don't know the reviews now. I know that it also launched with a ton of tech issues, and I think 2 and 1 had some, but they weren't. 1 had the big, the big downgrade for 1, the big graphics downgrade from the trailer to 1, Watch Dogs 1 being released. But somebody was saying they thought Vegas was the best Fallout. I liked Vegas a lot. Not
people
as much
love
3, but people
the
love
role-playing mechanics.
And it's it's not
admit,
mentioned ever. Sorry, go ahead.
I can admit, Fallout 3 is my favorite Fallout by far, obviously, but minus 1 and 2, but I didn't really play them.
They were fun.
New Vegas, definitely. Even though 3 is my favorite, I can definitely say New Vegas had the most airtight, best role-playing choices and stuff, and a lot of different choices and factions and shit you can do. I definitely, for sure. I just didn't like the setting as much.
I didn't like the setting as much, but it's still a Fallout game. And the idea that the companies pretend they don't exist pisses me off. And Origins, by the way, was, if people like New Vegas, then I would say Origins is close. In that a lot of people, at least that I know, think Origins, especially because it is an origin, but they also switched the main actor, which I think bothers people because they had to pay different voice actors to do different parts, and they switched some parts, so that bothered people. But man.
For sure.
Those games, those are the 3 I know of. I would also say the 2 DLCs for GTA 4 are probably my favorite DLCs of all time, or very high.
Lost
in the Damned is brutally amazing.
Ballad of Gay Tony.
Yeah, dude.
Dude.
And it's funny, but it's like, I think they might have got a re-release, blah, 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 but they're not shipped as much, like a relationship. They're not like...
Dude, this kind of like a segue, or not segue, this kind of like a side thing, but GTA 4 and its DLC is like the best example of how to be inclusive and progressive while also maintaining edge and not being woke, dude.
At which game?
So
which game?
Good. GTA 4. Because they're not afraid of saying shit. They're not afraid of doing shit. But at the same time, they include people in very realistic ways and realistic settings. And I think that's way better than just pretending everything is La La Land. You know what I mean?
Well, GTA 5 also, I think, did a pretty good job of just saying these characters are not a person. They're a game character. They're a movie character. And we've already got that way with movies where somebody be like, dude, I'll see something from like Screen Rant. They'll be like, is this guy the bad guy? Is the main character the bad guy? And it's like, you and I might joke about Nate in Uncharted being the bad guy. But Nate in Uncharted, and he might be, but I still play him as a protagonist. I'm like, he's still the protagonist in that game. And there's this desire to almost apply real-world ideals to these characters that you're just like, dude, his main job is shooting people and stealing stuff. Like, you have to separate yourself a little bit, and you have to be like, okay, this character's not real. That's why I'm a little worried GTA 5 won't... They said they didn't want to punch down, and I get that. I think they're saying everybody's having a rough time, and I do agree with that. It is a pretty rough time with, all the stuff, but everybody I know this is going to sound like that typical excuse, but a lot of the people I know who are having bad times don't have any issues whatsoever with a show or a comedy or a movie or a game punching down onto them. Because, to be honest, they're more aware of it than some lady typing away on her keyboard doing a blog.
Oh, yeah.
They're living it. And so, like, the friends I know who are mired in drugs, let's say, they know. They're not an idiot. They know exactly where they are. And they are the ones who laugh the hardest and are like, thank God for acknowledging.
Funny how that works, huh?
It's weird because you see these in your life. And I get why they're nervous about it. I hope they still aim for it. And they did a great job with Red Dead 2, and they didn't hit any of that stuff, even though it's Western time. But they didn't hit some of the stuff that they could have. Slavery and those kind, they didn't hit them as hard as they could have.
I think it was like
they did a good job.
It was set in the north as well, right? Not in the south. Wait, it was set in the south.
Okay, but here's the thing, though.
But they had KKK.
Yeah, they did. They did.
They did have KKK, and I think by virtue of them being outlaws, then they had suffrage.
Yeah,
and
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe here's what's weird. Maybe it's because it was handled well that it didn't. Like I didn't even know. I was like, it was handled in a time frame where I'm like, I don't live in that time frame, but this character does. So their acknowledgement of their ideals is going to be way different than what mine was.
Do you think someone brought this up, and I don't know how to? Do you think it's just like story is doomed just because of Dan Houser, or do you think there's a lot of talent?
Oh, I just saw that in the chat.
Yeah, I'm because I hear people saying that. That can be like you know what happened with Arcane. One dude left and it all went to shit. But you know, there's a chance. But I don't know how much power did he have over like all the writing.
All the power. Not only that, bro. When the legal snafu happened with Leslie Bezos and all that stuff, they went and got all their emails. That's why, you know, do your communication verbally, even though somebody can complain later. At least there's no tracks. The guys were emailing him saying, we can't even do this game without you, blah, 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 blah. It's like they were acknowledging. They were acknowledging that, like, and some people, we talked about Chris Avalon, where they have a good writing. They're very good at writing, and games need almost a better writer than a novel, because a novel, you can get an editor to look, start, middle, end. But a game can be
pieces,
start,
moving,
hours of side stuff, middle side stuff, another 15 hours of
pacing.
Then the end, and pacing, and you have to make it.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone into speaking of that, have you ever gone into a mission and forgot you had that mission? That happens to me in a lot of open world games.
Of course.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, so did you get that thing?
Like, like, this one.
I'm like, what thing is he even asking about? Yeah. Where I hope they acknowledge what it is I'm searching for, because I don't remember what it is that this guy gave me. Yeah. Yeah, I think it matters a lot, but also I think that you can mimic very well too. I'm sure a lot of people are looking at the way he wrote. Dan Houser's also, is gone too. I think that overall you can also copy. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how they copy. Oh, and then Amy Hennig left Naughty Dog, and look what happened. No,
I don't know.
Sorry,
who is Amy Hennig?
One of the major writers for Uncharted and Last of Us, and was working on the Star Wars game that got canceled. I
don't know. All I know is I liked Last of Us 1 story way more, so I don't know if it's because of her or.
I think that in some ways we blow some people up to the point to where
you can never know, man.
Realistic.
It's all variable. There's so many variables. Every company's different. Like, you can never tell. We just have to wait and see, you know? Yeah.
I think with The Last of Us 2, when I play that, I actually see where they were trying to go.
Yeah.
And by the way,
same.
You and I may say this, but there's a lot of people who just absolutely think it's amazing. So it's like, okay,
whatever. For sure. Yeah. So not every game has to be for everybody. Absolutely.
That one is for sure not. I mean, it does a lot
like,
of
I think it's complete trash. I think it's terrible writing and pacing, but like other people might love the story. I love the gameplay as well. But like another thing had me think like I really liked the way Alan Wake 2 did the swapping of characters, like very smart and very like they made it feel good and make sense. I wonder if that could have also helped with something like Last of Us, rather than like going through it once and then going through it all over. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, somebody said they
pacing
don't
has a
even
lot
know
to
if
do.
Amy Henning had anything to do with Last of Us. I thought she was Uncharted, but I could be wrong. But that was somebody else saying Last of Us. I don't track the writers a lot of times either unless there's a news about the writer. Does that make sense? So, like, I don't really look at... Because I wouldn't know who wrote Saints Row, the newest one. I just know it was bad. It's like... whatever, whatever. I didn't hear any news about it, but it's like I played it and I was like, this is genuinely not a good story, and it's,
same.
It's just bad.
Yeah, I hated it. Yeah.
It's so funny you hated. So
I
Last
hated
of Us
it.
2,
I hated myself playing it. I hated it.
Man, I didn't. I felt that only about the first parts I liked. In Last of Us 2, I played one time for the review. Last of Us 2.
Yeah, me too.
And there were parts I didn't have any issue with, and I liked some of the ideas, but I also feel that it was the napkin writing for Mass Effect 3 that got into Last of Us 2, where they said, let's make people talk. And by the way, people in a post-apocalyptic world, people die. I don't even have an issue with that, but it was oddly... It was just,
I didn't have an issue with that either.
It was
that wasn't my issue.
Oddly done.
I just didn't like the pacing and the character writing at all. That's pretty much it.
Did you feel it was a drop off
characters.
For those two characters in the second one? For Ellie and for Joel in the second one?
I think there's a lot of plot holes. I think they're instead of their characters developing in the second one, I think they de-developed, like they went backwards somehow. But I really liked the two characters from that one island. I thought they were well written. Other than that, I thought like there's like that one dude that like just came. Tom like went downhill. I don't know. A lot of characters just went downhill in a not in like a smart way, just like in a like what the fuck, dude, like why would you do this type way where it just didn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it.
David is a new premium member for the YouTube. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Also, I stuck the link in there. Somebody's asking about the Patron. We do game streams, chats. We've been doing a bunch of big chats. We actually talked about this, but we also talked about how Wolverine's going to handle violence. Is it going to be R-rated? You and I talked about that last Wednesday, and on Friday we talked about it. But I also want to see how some of these games are going to handle it when The Last of Us does show this brutality. And then you get these superhero Blade, the movie they just said is going to be R-rated, which is only their second R-rated.
When's the last time a Blade came out?
Blade 3 was a decade minimum, because wasn't that Ryan Reynolds, Justin Timberlake's wife? I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. I actually like her too. I just watched her in a crime drama. But off the top of my head, I can't remember her name. But it was Ryan Reynolds, Patton Oswalt. I think that was the last Blade, unless there was another one that I've missed, and there was a middle one. I could be wrong. Is there a middle one, guys? Is there a middle Blade, or was the last one Blade like Redemption or Blade, Revengeance? Like it's always hard.
So long. Like Blade 3 was the last one.
Not Blake Lively. That's Ryan Reynolds' wife. No, Justin Timberlake's wife. She was in the Total Recall, which I like, the new one, even though everybody else hated that. I would say it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle all of these writing things for Mass Effect. I personally am excited, though. I'm just going to be like, Blade Trinity, thanks. 2002, bro. So 21 years ago.
It's been a while, man.
A while?
Are they ever
Dude,
gonna
how
do a
old
game?
were you? You were 9. No, you were younger than 9. 21 years ago, how old were you?
Yeah,
you were in your teens, if not younger.
I was younger than teens.
Yeah.
94 to 2002. Yeah, it's like 8 years old.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. But Mass Effect, man, I'm excited even with all the issues, and it could suck. Anthem had 30 seconds of good combat, and the rest, sucked. So it's like maybe these guys, they piece together all their ideas, and it'll be a good game. I don't know, man. I'm just hoping. Why, Jessica Biel, thank you very much. I don't know why. I actually think she's a pretty goddamn good actress, and for some reason names are escaping me today. What would be would be cool if GTA Online somehow transferred to the new GTA Online. I think you mean your money and stuff. Yeah, Abssii and I were talking about that. Yeah, you know what they might do is say it's a one-time transfer. You either stick in GTA 5 and make a new GTA 6 online account, or you transfer and they give you diminishing.
Or you do what Path of Exile 2 is doing, right? everything you paid for, like all the stash tabs, all the cosmetics, whatever you paid for gets transferred into 2, but you also get to keep you can Pillars of Eternity 1 will or Path of Exile 1 will keep going, and they'll do updates to it and everything, and you can keep playing there, and that's pretty cool. But it's a free to play game, that one.
Also, the animation system has completely changed, so old cars may not work as well in the new one. That's why I was thinking they probably would do a
next gen.
It's a whole
next 2 gens. 2 gens.
Yeah, it's 2 gens different. Yeah.
2 gens later, man.
And by the way, we can't all hope for these huge improvements and then also be like, but grab the old shit. It's like, dude, at some point, you have to cut the umbilical cord. That's why I think 2 years lead time is a good idea. Be like, this is coming out in 2 years. So if you're spending money in GTA 4, be prepped. Stop with your madness.
Hey man, I spent like $2,000 on League of Legends, and then my account I don't even use it anymore, so I don't know.
Also, I don't know about you, but I'm a firm believer in spending your money and knowing that it's gone. You spent your money. It's on you. Yeah,
that's fine, because I spent it, and I got what it was worth. Like, I had fun, man. Like, that was it. That's it. I don't. Yeah.
I totally agree with that, because you've jumped to a couple. You do more online than I do, I'm sure. But you've jumped.
Yeah, I jumped. I did CS:GO. I bought a bunch of skins there, but I sold it for Chinese food when I was broke.
that was like an NPC blurb you hear in a video game when you're walking by him. Say that again. You sold your account for Chinese. That's a random account.
I had a bunch of Counter-Strike skins, and all of it all together, I sold it for like $200. And then instead of when I was broke, but I was broke and lazy, which is not like 2 things you want at the same time, because instead of using the $200 wisely and buying groceries and stuff, I spent it on Uber Eats in like 4 days or something. So I was very bad with money and stuff. But no, it's got me thinking with like the GTA stuff. It also depends with GTA Online might be a completely different beast, because they have like 5M under their belt now, and they could be doing some really cool shit. That's like, maybe there's like an arcade mode like the other one, and then like a more kind of realistic RP mode and stuff. So we never know, dude. Stuff can change.
I'm excited for it regardless. We'll just have to see. I mean, that one, Mass Effect, there's a bunch of big games coming out that, could be awesome. We'll just have to see. I love Mass Effect's world. I like GTA. I think that they're both fun worlds to play around, different style of games. But both of those companies, well, not both. Rockstar, I have a lot of faith in.
Yeah.
BioWare, I don't have faith in them. I have faith that the IP is already established and good. The story, the races, we've already talked about, like the character. Obviously, that stuff is strong. So it's like, figure it out. We saw it with Star Trek. They've jumped, they've done like 7 Star Trek shows. Some are great and some aren't, but I don't want them to stop.
Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what.
Voyager.
By the way, Shepard is not dead. So moving on from there, let's jump to Yakuza just for a second. I'm going to cover this real quick. So I reviewed Like a Dragon, Gaiden, the man who erased his name.
There you go, dude. That's the whole title.
I got the whole title. I got it all right, man. I should stop now while I'm ahead. I should be like, dude, I got the title right. But anyway.
You're going to fuck it up. Yeah.
No, shut up, man. I will never screw it up. No, it's good. That's why we're the best gaming podcast. Real quick, Nintendo, we're going to talk about them in a second. I'll read your super chat. Okay. So, yeah, Yakuza, dude, is, it's creaky. You can tell.
What does that mean?
It means that the years have gone by enough that there wasn't as much surprise as I was hoping for. And, it's a sort of regurgitation of what's happened before. And I liked it a lot, but it's starting to the control that used to be, I guess, flicky arcade now feels a little bit older, and maybe there's some quality of life that we might see in a new game if they ever do a real-time game like this again. Combat was fun. Game overall was pretty enjoyable, but I think that for the most part, unless you're a big fan of Yakuza, that Game Pass is your best way to go.
I'm still doing Game Pass because the thing with Yakuza is, as much as I love them, I love Yakuza. I'm never gonna replay one.
Right.
I don't see myself ever replaying one. I got what I wanted. I did all the side quest stuff, did the story, and that's it. And so most Yakuzas I played have been through Game Pass and stuff, and like other services. Yeah, I don't own many Yakuzas myself. I just other than Judgment and Lost Judgment, because those weren't on any of those services. But yeah, like like I definitely, especially because this game is a shorter game. It's a side game. Yep. I'm definitely gonna buy. Dude, 8 looks to have a lot of shit going. Like
8's
a lot.
Crazy. Like we can talk about that in a second. Eight looks completely nuts. Yeah.
I just watched both trailers, like the deep dive and the Animal Crossing shit with a friend. So that it's fresh in my mind, like the stuff they're doing there. But yeah, this as a side game, I have no problem with. Just, you know, I'm just gonna play it through Game Pass. I want to see because I'm like deep into the Yakuza stuff. I really want to see what's happening with Kiryu and all that shit. And yeah,
reminds me a lot of Mirage, Assassin's Creed Mirage, because it's a character that you know is not in the other. You sort of know where they're going. It is sort of secret. It's like, oh, what's happened in this time frame, but you sort of know where that character's going. You know, and then it surprises you in that time frame, that tight time frame.
Dude, it's just really sorry. One more thing. It's just really funny to me that they for a while they were like Yakuza 6 is the last Kiryu. This is like the end of no, not even real time, just the end of Kiryu's story. You know, he's finally getting out of the Yakuza. He's been trying to get out every single game. He gets out and then comes back in and then gets out. And then they brought him back in, man. They brought it. He's never going away, dude. He's just Kiryu's just there forever.
I mean,
he's always going to be
some point,
shenanigan.
Yeah, exactly. Shenanigans. He's a fun character that a lot of people like. I liked Lost Judgment's character better. I think I might. Yeah. Lost Judgment, I still think are my favorite Yakuza games by far. The Judgment, Lost Judgment, like.
I love those games, man. Their
just
stories are incredible.
They fit a little bit better with me, but yeah, this one's not bad. I mean, it's a good title. It's just like I said. When I was playing it, I was like, no matter what they tried to switch up with skills and stuff, sometimes you're like, why is he learning a new skill? You know, if he's at the end of the last games, he was just this badass, you know, and then you pop back in and you're like, he has to learn how to punch. He's been
the head of the Dojima clan, dude. Like, holy shit. Yeah.
And we get that with all RPGs where you start, and you're just like, okay, we got to teach this guy how to punch again. But yeah, it was good. It was, you know me, I don't necessarily like reading subtitles, and this game was a little worse because not only did they have no English at all, but they do a lot of and then a paragraph. 2 paragraphs.
Japan.
And by the way, they're the investigative missions that this happens. And so you're like, I have to read this to understand what I need to do or why I'm helping this person or why I'm doing this. And you're just like, oh my God. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Yakuza's story is much better when it's the spoken cutscenes and when it's the story-based parts than they're writing in the text-based stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing with Yakuza's. There was like some very weird dissonance every time because like and especially the latest Yakuzas, you'd get like the gameplay in-game like lowest of the low non-voice acted, then you'd get like the in-game voice acted, then you'd get like the cutscenes that are rendered in-game, and then you get like the CGI shit. So you'd be like there's a lot of weird like, oh, is this like this is like the story, is this canon? Kind of, it's obviously all canon, but like you kind of get this weird like difference where it just doesn't all flow that well. Yeah, for sure.
And I thought the FMV hostess stuff was hilarious. It worked out pretty well. I came out of it and was like, this actually isn't, it isn't done poorly. It's done poorly from a gameplay standpoint because it is FMV. And you're just sort of choosing what to talk about and stuff like that. But overall, I was like, all right, that worked. I think a lot of people, if it was a Western developer.
Oh, yeah, you got shit on, man. Imagine having pedo shit in a Western game.
Well, there was no pedo in this.
No, I know, but I mean, most Japanese games are like,
but I mean,
riding on that line, dude.
If they were like, if this was a Western developer, there would be a lot more, and we'll have to see because the game just came out today. Right? Didn't Yakuza come out today? Yeah.
Or like on Game Pass, it comes out at 12 a.m. tomorrow on whoever's like local time.
Your local time. But yeah, you know, it was a good game. It was definitely worth reviewing. It was a good game to play through. I'm glad I did. Cool story, somewhat. A lot of fun stuff with the battle. What do you call it? The tournaments where you can get other people, and so a bunch of people can be fighting with you. I thought that was really fun. Some stuff I love that they don't care about the story. By the way, I'll just say characters are there that you're like, why is this character like? How's this character joining me in the tournament? But it's not about that. It's the tournament is just sort of just crazy shit. Like you knock somebody out with a person, use another person to knock out a tiger. So it's like at some point you just have to put your realism to the side and be like, this is Yakuza.
You always have to put your realism to the side in Yakuza for sure. Yeah.
And then Alex says, do you recommend all the Man of Medan anthology? I do not. I would have to go back and look, but Man of Medan's been really hit and miss. In fact, I think there's only one I liked. The Shrike has a $5 super chat.
Until Dawn, right?
That one was not Man of Medan series, really, but it's definitely the best from them. Yeah, by far.
Okay.
Imagine if Nintendo made the next Sonic game, pros and cons, or a crossover to the Nintendo show and say how to do it.
Yeah, easily make it better.
Made the, do you think so? Because I don't know if Nintendo can handle speed and like I don't know if Nintendo maybe I don't know.
They make good platformers and shit. That's all.
Man, something about Sonic feels like a different type of platformer than anything they've done though. Like I don't know if Nintendo's idea, and Nintendo loves to have you go into a level and think about what you're gonna do, and then maybe you speed run it later. But there's a lot of methodical gameplay, even in Wonder.
And Sonic is just go.
Sonic is and then you get better at both, but better in a different way. Sonic's about flow, and like at first I would say Wonder is not. It's more about some of it's flow, but it just doesn't feel the same.
Some of it's flow, but I don't know.
I don't know if I would want to see him make. I mean, to be brutally honest, if they're doing Mario Wonder, when
was the last good Sonic game, dude? I'm not a huge Sonic guy. I think the.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Like Sonic's I mean the last Sonic I enjoyed was like Sonic Heroes on like the GameCube.
Yeah, and the last one I
Sonic
played,
Heroes.
I played almost all of them, but I think the last one I played and really enjoyed wasn't even that good, and that was one of the ones on the Dreamcast. Sega Sonic Adventures, the 3D ones.
Oh, is it the one with the water guy? Is it the one with the water guy?
The water guy. I don't even remember
the water
that.
Dude. It's like open worldish, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's also it has these viewpoints that it's like they weren't prepared to do. So there's a lot of clipping and like it was like Speed. And Speed and Sonic, when you're staring straight forward, is a whole different ball game than when you're looking at the side. Like it felt like it messy. I think the Sonic games have felt messy for a long time. Messy,
they're always messy.
Yeah, they're always messy. It's almost like don't pause and look too long at this thing because you're going to see all the problems. Instead, just sort of skip past it. Let's see, what else do we got? We talked about GTA, Spiderman, Mass Effect, Yakuza. Also, Microsoft is doing a deal with that AI game company for NPCs. What is it? Inline. Let me look at their company name. Where they're doing a deal with them for adding NPCs to games. It is.
Oh yeah, people. There's a lot of controversy there, right?
Yeah. Prior to cars being made, there were no car manufacturing lines with people, right?
Of course.
Then cars are being made for 150 years, and then robots replaced them. So I saw AI people saying, "We got jobs by doing these side characters."
Yeah.
And I'm like, true, but prior to those guys doing that, how was audio voice done? Synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
So Sega, let's say Space Harrier, it was a synthesized voice saying, "Oh, get ready," but you knew it wasn't a real person. It was like, and you had to have a subtitle to even figure out what they were saying. Altered Beast, rise from your graves. I mean, that shit was... So to me, it's sort of just the arc of like, this is the arc. So seeing people say, this is sad or whatever, it is, but it is also well past any slowing down. It's done. Like,
wasn't there a whole outcry when elevator operators stopped having jobs?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And some companies still have doormen for the personality of it all. Especially but those doormen do 1,000 things. They'll call up, they'll get you a ride. They'll do all that. You don't have to use Uber if you have a doorman. You can usually tell the doorman. Like when we went to San Francisco, there was a doorman there who did everything. And because they're also getting a tip. So they want to do everything. Like as much as they can do, they're like, I'll do. But to me, in-world is just, it's a sign of the times of, in a weird way, going back to using computers. And by the way, Cadiz and I went for a 2-hour walk, and we were talking about this. Remember when you were a kid and you were at first maybe using samples for your, every 4 beats, you were putting down your bass line. You were like, boom, 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 boom. Then you got a track editor and a beat machine, a synthesizer. And you were like using AI. It wasn't AI at the time. It was all computerized without thinking. It wasn't free thinking. But we've got that way now, and you're starting to see people doing AI music. And in a weird way, maybe it's because I'm old and I did it prior, but I feel like it's just it's almost like an adjustment of what I did when I was a kid making my first songs in Fruity Loops. Yep. So when I see somebody say, oh, there's AI music, it's going to replace everything, I'm like, dude, AI, it may not have been AI, but you could throw together a song in an easy way in Fruity Loops by saying, drop a beat. You'd count the beats. You'd be like, okay, change it up, blah, blah, blah. Then you put a synth over it, and you're like, hey, I'd listen to this, And that's the way it's all going, man. It's like we're gone.
Exactly. I always say this, and when with new technological advancements, sure, it might replace some jobs, but it also creates new opportunities and jobs, right? The thing is, like, rather than just being doomer and being like, oh shit, the world is fucked, I'm gonna get replaced, well, you could just learn how to use these tools, use them as tools and not replacements. Use these as tools effectively, and you stay ahead of the curve. For example, let's say AI as it is right now, obviously it's gonna get there, but it can't replace, like, there's always a tinge, maybe it's the sentience or something with humans, there's always a tinge of something there that separates, for example, like human writing versus like AI writing, or human voices versus AI voice, right? But imagine this, right? A game where like the story and everything, all the core characters, it's all voice acted, it's all nice and whatever, but they use AI effectively to, let's say, every NPC in the open world you can talk to, and you can do query, you can like write, you can say whatever you want to them and they can react. That's something that voice acting can't do right now. Like humans can't do that. That's like a way to use AI very effectively. You know what I mean?
And save
like there's
some
like
cash,
a lot of different,
or do something with no cash. That that's another thing, Abssii, is because Cadiz isn't involved in any of these discussions, and so he was off to the side going like, I don't understand, because most games don't have those side characters spoken. So I get that some of these people are like, that's how we made our bones, but certainly not in all games. Maybe not even in 80% of games. Most JRPGs, for instance, have just these blurbs of text, and you're like, what's that guy talking? And by the way, Yakuza, all the time, thousands of lines of dialogue with no voice. And so it's like, well, your companies the amount of money would be so crazy expensive. And by the way, the excuse we've used for years is the cost of money. So whenever I was doing a B-level game, I'd be like, there's not a lot of voice. Why? Because it costs a lot to do those voice actors. Now you get an AI, and it's like, well, I'm not saying we cost ourselves out of it, but it's like, we have to understand not all games will use it. Some games will, but I also do think for a long time there will be people who probably will still use voice actors. It just, it's going to be a while. There's an inflection point there too. You'll hear somebody talk and you'll be like, I'm not quite sure.
I'm not saying just learn to code. Oh my God. People are not listening to what I'm saying. They think I'm being like, just learn to code, bro. And then you can, even coders are, dude, AI can do coding, by the way. Fucking, no. There's just like effective use of technology that, like, with every new technological advancement, jobs will get replaced and other jobs will get created. That's just how it goes every time.
Yeah. And I mean, that is the thing, is that is how it goes every time. There is at this point, I could say I don't like it, and I don't, but I do like it in that Yakuza might have some voices on the side that company just doesn't have the money to pay for studio time. And put those, and I as a gamer, when I take that in, like, that's the thing, is a lot of people get involved in games, and so they think about it to the point to where it's like, let's itemize every single thing. And it's like, well, for me at least, a lot of the games I play, I rate voice. So if anybody's going to care, it'd be me. Like, because I'm sure there will be a game, Abssii. I guarantee you. You can mark this right down. By the way, you're a little out of camera focus. Or you're a little out of your frame.
Fuck me. Okay,
by the way, Abssii, guarantee it. You can write this down. I'm going to make a mistake in the future. Let's say 2 years, where I think a character that is AI voiced is a person, and I talk about it in a review. I guarantee you.
What do you mean?
I will do a review, and I will be talking about a character's voices and NPCs or somebody, and I will say this is done poorly or this is done good, and we will find out that was an AI voice, and I did not pick up on it. I guarantee you, because I cover voice, I know that I'm aiming. I absolutely know that because of what I do, I am aiming towards that being a troubled part of future reviews. Because you're going to have to almost ask the dev, dude, I was testing some of the AI stuff and testing superstars and stuff for a small line of text. Impossible to tell. Impossible.
It's getting scary, man.
It's getting scary.
It's getting dude.
And I don't mean scary like I'm fearful. Year. I mean scary as in awe. Like, I'm awed at the technology.
Yeah. I get how it could be fearful to people too. Like AI, you know, a new entity kind of emerging, you know, is always kind of, you know, it can scare people. But especially the past year, the rise. Like it's just crazy, dude. It's crazy with GPT. Everything has changed, man. Like it's fucked. Like my brother is telling me he's in university, and they remember when, you know, obviously I'm much younger, but Google came out and everyone was like, holy shit, with Google, like school is way easier. Dude, it's at a point now where you just GPT is fucked, dude. I use it every day for my job.
And, I mean,
like,
all these jobs, again, it's age, but it's like you experience all these jobs that are like displaced, then people go to other stuff, and people move around and adjust. And one nice thing is a lot of the people I know are adjusting to the tech now because they're seeing that it is moving forward regardless. So, for example, as Cadiz mentioned yesterday, he was like, listen, some indie dev is going to have to use it. Once they do, and they ignore the onslaught of people bitching because they didn't have the money, then somebody else will. And it's just like cars. And by the way, I was alive when a lot of car production was people. And dude, that's just there's a couple, you know, places that put them together with a person, but robots, when it comes to that, are better at doing some of that stuff with human oversight. Roomba. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, maybe not better. Well, yeah, probably better at cleaning. But yeah, it's just, I guarantee you I'm going to have that. I would say within 2 years, there's going to be somebody who uses AI, and it will be, I'll have to look at the review and go, how am I going to cover? And it'll probably change more. And I've been doing this in the last 5 years on reviews where I talk about the writing in the voices, where I'm like, the writing and this voice actor worked well together. So I'll probably have to switch to that, because it will happen. Where, by the way, I've recorded my own voice into AI. I played it for like 10 people. They all thought it was a review. They had no clue it was AI.
Or what if, like another example could be for writing, for example, what if rather than a writer getting replaced by AI, they use AI as a tool to help them write in a more effective manner or time effective? You know what I mean? Is that like a possibility?
Well,
right?
Yeah, because
like
we've been using
it and
I mean, you do realize like most writers have an editor.
Like Mr. Clippy.
That editor is their AI. And now a lot of writers use AI and then use the editor for other stuff. But this has popped up everywhere. Dude, I remember when you're writing, there was no grammar check. It was spell check. That was it.
Yeah.
I remember writing on the Apple IIe into a text document. There was nothing. Just nothing. And by the way, I'm just talking about
line or whatever. It's just
right,
red.
Squiggly line. You know, you're like, what's this? So all of that stuff in every industry is being not infected, but impacted by it. Like in a huge, it's going to definitely be displacing when it comes to not only games, but when it comes to a shit ton of stuff, even just improving, like you said, where somebody's like, hey, does this hit as well? You can ask AI, does this scene, if you're a writer of movies, let's say, you can say, does this scene make sense? Or, you know, is this character progression correct? And AI could be like, no, you missed this. That'll replace an editor maybe, but then what will that editor do? They'll probably do something else and adjust. It's going to be rough on a lot of people though, because it's also displacing a different
There will
group.
be a time period. Yeah. There will be a time period of adjusting and changing, and it'll be sad for some people and stuff. But it just depends, like the net gain. You know what I mean? Like what happens? Is it going to be a net gain or a net loss for everybody, consumers and workers alike?
A net gain? Oh, you mean? See, that's the other thing is like there is no proper tracking and never will be for everybody because, by the way, I don't know if you ever study politics. They'll say that the one group of people they want to talk to is the one group of people who won't talk to political analysts and pollsters. So this happens to me in a very small amount. Let me tell you. Last night I asked a question in Discord, and I even prefaced it by saying, please, blah, 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 blah. No one saw the please. And it was like all these answers. And I was like, all right, so I got to piece through this and figure out. And then the people maybe who had longer thought processes got discouraged or saw the joke and was like, oh, this must not be serious, and didn't answer. And this happened a while ago. I was posting about the Legion, and Lucitan made a joke, and it killed the entire conversation. So I had to do it again later because, and by the way, that's not calling out Lucitan. He made a joke. I would make a joke. I'm explaining that's how humans work. And the people that you want to get sometimes and find out who's been displaced might be difficult to find and find out, like, where they're displaced. What have they, what job did they have? Did they prepare for it? It's going to be a rough, 15, 20 years because also we used to say get a degree. And I remember when I was growing up, everybody thought a degree was important. And I got into one of the jobs that didn't require it and still got great pay. Now, a lot of the people who I know who went to get degrees, that doesn't matter at all. And you're like, interesting. We are at a very interesting point where there's an inflection point for schools, like you said as well. Like what matters in a school and what you're taught. And GPT replacing exam, somebody using GPT to write an exam. And by the way, a lot of our schools have switched away from any writing for exams now, which I think is bad because written word matters. Yeah,
written word matters. I think exams I think they're better now, but they were structured in a way where it's not like real world applicable that much, where sometimes it can be stupid. I think also another thing to consider is I don't know how long it would take, or I don't know if AI can write as well as like the best writers or whatever.
Not but even I feel close, I don't think.
I feel like the market would adjust. Like let's say EA, okay? Let's say BioWare, right? Uses AI to replace every single voice actor and every single writer for Mass Effect 5, okay? Picture that, right? And the market will adjust. They'll be like, this is trash. The voice acting is trash. The writing is trash. We're not going to buy this game. So there's some costs you just don't want to cut. So I feel like if some companies do go overboard with it, the market will shit on it and they'll revert.
I mean, that is one of the things we were talking about is this year's, I think 25 or 26 AAA games have done the scores that we were talking about last Wednesday. The Axiom did where they checked the last 15 years, and this year's been the biggest, all this stuff, but it's also got the most games ever in a year. So when you start looking and you divide by, almost like when we were joking about Game Pass, is it free? And you're like, well, no, but each game's 4 cents. When you take all the games, divide it by the cost
more
of
like
premium.
1 cent at this point, right?
Yeah, and it's a very interesting, like when you look at it, it's very interesting. It does, I mean, it sucks because it's going to just be rough on, I mean, it's even rough on me when I look at some stuff that maybe I want to do. I'm like, oh, but by the way, you were just talking about the market adjusting. The market's adjusted to another place where this happens, which is self-publishing on Amazon. So in the old days, if somebody was published, it meant something.
Yeah,
like it meant something. It was like you were published with Del Rey.
Or like a blue check mark on Twitter. It's kind of like that,
blue check mark, right? That's gone. Right. That's gone. And self-publishing, dude. I think I was telling you guys in Discord. There's one guy I follow that was 25 books self-published, meaning there's just no chance he could get a publisher to try to publish 25 books. It wouldn't even make sense in PR. But he went to Amazon, self-published. They're good, but I got to admit they're not of the level of like Altered Carbon.
There's no checks and balances there.
There's a lacking in quality, but it's still like good. Yeah, like Steam. Yeah. It's and that's happening everywhere. And that was prior to AI. That was when self-publishing opened up. Like you said, the check mark, all of the things that were quality are adjusting. to where it's more on the consumer to figure out the quality, if that makes sense. Like in the old days, if you saw somebody was on the top 10 bestseller in the New York bestseller list, you'd be like, that's a good book. And I can tell you right now, that is a fucking lie. Because I buy some of those, and I'm like, this is a terrible book. This is bad. Like, it's actually poorly written, but it's
everything's
still on
a bestseller, dude.
Everything's a bestseller. It's like Batman saying Batman Game of the Year, Arkham Knight Edition. You're like, who gave it Game of the Year? Who gave that Game of the Year? Because maybe some blogger might have been like, this is my Game of the Year. It's like, what games did you play?
Yeah, there were a lot of Game of the Year editions.
Dude,
of games
such
that never...
bullshit.
Oh, I won Game of the Year in the Little League BAFTA 22.
The ACG
you know what I mean? Like,
says Game of the Year. It's like, I'm the reviewer, and even I say that's bullshit. If somebody told somebody else, remove me. If somebody said IGN gave it Game of the Year, I would be like, who fucking cares? That means nothing. And by the way, we're all sitting here bitching. Half of the people follow this channel because you want independent stuff. So you can't then turn around and be like, oh, look, the people we hate 364 days out of the year gave them on this one day Game of the Year, so it matters now. It's like, dude, you spent 364 days bitching about it. You don't turn around. Yeah. That's a bad relationship. That's that's the definition of a bad relationship.
Does the title of Game of the Year, dude, other than like feeling good and stuff and devs like going on stage and shit, does it actually increase? Does it give them profit or revenue, or does it do
I don't
something?
know. But speaking of that, anybody in chat, have you bought something because it said Game of the Year? Because I personally don't believe.
Well, I don't think anyone here, because people here are probably more
right. But I mean,
they're more intelligent about games and stuff. No,
maybe not more intelligent, but they're coming here for a reason. But
they're coming here for a reason,
because I do cash-based stuff. But but prior to you following. Prior to me doing reviews, I can tell you if it said Game of the Year, that would mean nothing to me because I don't even know what games they played that fucking year. If they played 4 games, then a Game of the Year to me from them would mean nothing because you didn't play the game. Even myself, that's why I don't do Game of the Year. It would not make sense. It's like, for example, I didn't do... what's a big game? Lords of the Fallen did terrible. That's a bad example. But if there was a good example of a game and I didn't review it, I didn't review Breath of the Wild, I don't think. So Breath of the Wild, I couldn't even say if that was game. I mean, it wouldn't make any... Like, I don't know, man. It's all on the consumer, which is rough. And I don't know how the consumer is going to figure out something's good because there's also paid for reviews on, Microsoft Store, and so you can buy reviews and say it's good. I'm sure you can do it on Amazon. So it's like the consumer. I don't know how you do it. Maybe you do Chat GPT and you say, what's the average? I mean, that's probably why people go to aggregates like OpenCritic, where they're looking at the average and hoping that means overall it means it's above this particular level. But I hate aggregate. They're terrible.
Don't get me wrong, like I like the event itself. I think it's fun. I like when devs get recognition, when writers get recognition, actors get recognition, all that stuff. Like the event itself, I have no problem with, and I like seeing that stuff. It's just the especially this year, the discussion around it. There's just people can't be happy with the idea that there's a game out there for everybody, or like there's like just it hit this year, hit like a lot of different gamers, and I feel like the whole discussion makes it into more of a competition where it shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Even when you're talking about like these minor ones, and like GameSpot gave it this, IGN gives it, like, imagine make a top 10 and put it on YouTube and see how many dislikes you get. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of useless chaff there.
That is the easiest way to describe it. Is imagine like you're defending yourself with your radar and there's just chaff everywhere and you're like, I have no clue what's real. It is rough. That's one place where I do think AI will make it worse, because you will get so many more things. We talked about asset flips on Steam, where you're like, here's an asset flip, and sometimes you're like, well, for example, I've had people get mad at me. They'll be like, well, this sound effect was used in another game. And I'm like, well, first of all, man, that's a pretty rough expectation for me to know. Or it's like a pretty rough expectation for me to know that like 10 years later, but prior it was used in another game. But at the same time, we're getting so much that it's really difficult. Worst game of the year. Somebody said Kong and Gollum. We can do worse.
Sure.
Or well, Redfall.
I think Kong by far. I see. It makes Gollum look like a AAA amazing game. Kong is. Have you seen it? Like gameplay?
I have, but see, I don't register Kong as even in the conversation because it's not I don't know how to describe it, but it didn't even go through the normal release policies that normal games go through. So Gollum and Redfall did, but to me, King Kong was like an asset flip in that they just threw shit together. And asset flip might not be fair to them, but I don't know.
I see where you come from. Yeah, for sure. Because like that's like just like a college thing, or like I don't know what the fuck happened with that game. Honestly.
Oh, hey, somebody Ravo says AI is asset flipping, and very much a lot of AI is. And by the way, I'm all for asset flipping AI. I'm all for people reusing stuff that works.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the other thing. I've had people be like, "Well, that's not
original."
Works
smart,
like,
not hard.
Works
Every
smart.
Yakuza game is set in Kamurocho, bro. Like, and it works.
Yeah, it does. You know what I mean? This last one, but
shut up, dude.
I'm just saying, you go around a corner and you're like, I've seen this corner 45 times.
Yeah, it's comfortable, man.
Warner Brothers just announced something. Here we go. So this was just announced 5 minutes ago. Warner Brothers is going to focus on more live service games going forward. Here's what they say. Our focus is on transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC based with 3 to 4 year release schedules to include more always on gameplay through live services, multi-platform, and free to play. That is as of
not Hogwarts
1 minute ago. That is 1 minute ago. No, and I was going to say Hogwarts. Do you know what's the problem with Hogwarts, dude? Because of people having issues with the writer. Some people didn't play it. So how do you do Game of the Year if you didn't play it? So let's say I'm one of the people they asked to do Game of the Year. If I chose to not play Hogwarts isn't just a not on the list for me as Game of the Year. It is quite literally adding a point possible to the others. So in those categories, if I didn't play it, how am I going to vote for Game of the Year if I didn't play one that might have been? Not saying
I meant like changing it to live service.
I know. I'm talking more. I went back on it because I don't know much more about the live service. I was just talking about the Game of the Year award. Just we were talking about with.
Gotcha. Yeah. No. I don't know, man. I don't know how it works there. There's like the judges. I think they just. I feel like they just go by consumer. Like it's always obvious what Game of the Year is, right? Like even this year, like I feel like Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, within 2 is obvious. Two titles, right? It always seems to come down to 2 or 3.
Like Baldur's Gate or Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like
no, Alan
mostly
Wake.
Baldur's Gate.
I believe. Really? Here's why, dude.
I believe it'll
bias.
win Best Direction.
No, recency bias is such a thing.
Like it's Game of the Year for me, personally.
Dude, I know, but dude, I'm telling you, recency, we're human, man. We're not
recency
AI.
bias is a huge thing for sure.
No, recency bias is a thing. But back to WB, like you were saying, I don't know if Hogwarts will be a live service, but I assume it will be in the future because it makes sense for them to say, I don't know what they would say, but hey, you can play Quidditch and your score goes on a leaderboard, so now it's online only because we have.
I hated that. We're never gonna see Arkham again, no? Like a normal Arkham game.
You mean Gotham Knights Arkham or Batman Arkham?
No. Fuck. I mean like Arkham, like like Arkham.
Like what? Which one are we talking about?
Like Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, Batman Origins, like single player. Batman.
I mean, WB from them. It sounds like no. Remember, WB also tried the shit with Shadow of War, where they sold you the best orcs. So they took.
That was WB.
Yeah, that was Shadow. They took what is considered 2 of the things that they did was stunning to me, Abssii. The first was that they tried to sell you orcs, and the second was that they fucking patented the license for the Nemesis system, and quite literally set gaming back by like 10 years singly.
Yeah,
the Nemesis system, stupid. I didn't even love, but I look at it and I'm like, this is
why patent anything?
And patenting a games
games. Why it's like making a song and patenting like a melody.
Or patenting horror.
Imagine how stupid
as the genre. I'm patenting the masked horror villain from Scream. It's
it's the most beautiful thing about like these mediums is that you take inspiration from things,
right,
and make it into something else, and that's like the coolest fucking thing. You take something from this game and make it something else here, and Oh man, patenting is just the worst, and I hate live service. I don't like it. I don't like live service.
Has there been a live service game I've continued to play? I don't think there is. I think
the only one is like I like Division. I mean, but with live service, I don't mean MMOs
really
and stuff.
Though, yeah. Oh, of course.
I don't mean MMOs. I mean like actual those games. I just don't like. I don't. And I thought the market wasn't. I thought the market went back to like single player and stuff. Like this year has been mostly single player games.
Could just
and
be WB.
Even multiplayer.
I mean, we saw, some companies seem to have gone the opposite way. So it could just, WB is huge.
Yeah. 20 currencies, man. And like, you're just going to open the menu and you're going to see
diamonds, like, transfer them into purple hearts, then crunch them into gold nuggets, and then take the gold nuggets.
Oh, imagine games are just going to be like mobile games, dude. Oh, man. No, fuck that. No, listen. No, I think they will. It's like the same thing when EA said they hate single player games. Maybe it's like Sony saying they're going to focus on live service. But have we even gotten did we get a live service Sony game ever?
Well, a lot of their games are going to live service, even with the Switch. There's a couple games coming out that are live service. So I don't know. Really? Sony, because remember, Sony's big thing is that they for sure were going live service, and only now in the last couple months we've heard some feedback on it. But the problem is,
what even is Sony? What's the next Sony game, dude?
Well, that's like, the biggest problem is like Sony, they just don't have a lot of stuff, like, I guess, like they don't have the releases you might expect for a while. I guess Ghost of Tsushima maybe, but we haven't heard number 2 about that. So I don't know.
God, I hated that, man.
You're out of view completely on your camera.
Sorry, I just this WB live service thing just bummed me out.
Yeah,
man.
Here we go. I depressed everybody.
No, it's just.
So we got some super chats in Patron of all things, where somebody gave us a little extra. They wanted us to ask a couple things. First up, is Mission Impossible a spy film or a superhero flick?
It's an action flick. Can I just say that?
Wow, you just cheated right out of that. Now, is it a spy?
It's a superhero flick.
It's a superhero flick.
It's a superhero flick.
Yeah. I think that's fair. That's what I would say. Also, so this is from Mathis. He says, "Have you ever been a part of something failing and you know it, deep set in your heart, like a project or otherwise?"
Yeah.
Yeah. This podcast. I'm just joking.
But nice, dude. Hey, man, we're rising.
Wait, what is one thing what do you remember a project or something that you knew was failing and you were in the midst? Can you talk about it or can you not talk about it?
Sure. Fuck it. I'll talk.
Fuck
that guy.
Wow. Was it Karak when we were talking? Was it me? If it's me, don't talk about it.
I was doing a lot of sales, and I was really good at it. With this guy. I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say his name. Dude.
Don't say
Fuck that guy. I was gonna say. Well, no, I'm not gonna say his name. And so I was working for him doing sales. I started with door-to-door sales and stuff. And then he's like, "Yo, let's start a company together." So we started a social media marketing company for local businesses. Mm-hmm. And he just had the worst ideas ever, man. So for one, guess what he wanted to call the company, dude?
X?
No.
Oh, shoot.
The Media.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Media.
Well, we are called the best gaming podcast. I can't say we named it well either.
The Media. The SEO of that. He was thinking, like, in his head, he was like, hey, imagine you call, like, he was like thinking of cold calling. And he was like, dude, imagine calling a business and being like, hey, it's the Media.
Shit, that is a bad idea. I get what you're saying.
Man.
Yeah. Dude,
you know what I mean?
You've got the media on the phone.
The media on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then
That's terrible.
Had this guy make a website on WordPress. I made him a good website. And then he had this other guy make him a website on WordPress. And it was, I wish I could show it to you now. It was so bad. And I was just like in there and I was watching it like just fall down until he gave me like this contract. And I was like, why are you giving me a contract? And then I was like, this is stupid. I'm out. Yeah, it was so bad. Man, I lost a bunch of money on that. But,
I'll give my answer in just 1 second. I'm going to read this super chat from Robert. He says, what games would you have liked the Nemesis to be implemented on if it was not patented? My answer will always be the same, and that's like a Batman game where you beat up the villain and they come back with like anti-Batman stuff, with the ability to fight you off. Is there any that zombie games could be fun? Take out a zombie, take out a team of zombies, they come back with like some...
I'm thinking other than superhero stuff, what would be maybe like a mafia game, right? Where there's like mafia families and stuff like that.
And they change depending on
piss people off.
Yeah. Oh, and dude, that would be cool.
Yeah. Or maybe even you could do like the war stuff or a 4X or anything where like they would react like politically and stuff like that.
And react better than they do now where they... if you... So right now, if you betray somebody in a 4X, usually they just hate you. But it would be cool if they're doing deals that sound good for you or whatever. And I think some games have
but I like the
done
crime
some
family
AI
thing more.
Yeah, I like the crime family thing more.
It's yeah.
That would
or like
be awesome.
Yakuza even, like a...
Yeah, definitely. Any of those games where you beat, like Yakuza, you beat somebody silly 1,000 times.
Because you don't kill
they keep
people
coming back. You don't kill. Yes. That's why I think Spider-Man would still be good. If you were facing, a character in Spider-Man, they show back up and you try to shock him as Miles and he's like, dude, I got my, grounded high heel boots on. And you're just like, what? I think that would be awesome. My answer for a project is many. Dude, I've been a part of a lot of like get up and go ideas, and because my energy is high, the honest truth is like I've always been like my energy, I'll probably keep wanting to do it, and other people peter off when you get into what Reg was talking about with making his game. When you get into the nitty gritty, the idea people evaporate.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, it's like a cloud. DM somebody, no response for a while, and you're like, they were responding last week every time, and you're like, okay, I get it, things have changed, their strength is gone. But yeah, I was not in charge, I almost said that, but I was second, and we were doing a project, and I was the Steve in the project going, and I got a lot of shit for saying like, I'll do everything you want, but this is like, I wasn't trying to be the naysayer. I was like, dude, I don't know how we're even moving forward. This is millions of dollars we're planning on spending, and dude, we spent a lot of those millions. And then it was so weird. Our boss came in and was like, what are you guys doing? We told them, and they were like, nope, cancel it. And I was all, and I didn't say I told you. I would never do. Not only did I not say told you so, I almost bought into it by the end because I was like, we're going this way.
Yeah.
Like, you buy into it and you're like, yeah, this is. And then a couple times I've been on the wrong end. Maybe this is why I think the way I do about AI. A couple times I've thought about doing something and then AI has replaced my idea. So like a website or whatever, it's like, oh, we can get other writers to come in, maybe do articles, blah, blah, blah. And then you see, AI top 10s where it's just an Amazon click factory where you can tell it is. Like they've taken the worst generic top 10 router list. And by the way, major websites do this. Top 10 routers, and you read the router description, and it will even have errors from other pages it's grabbed the data from. And it's just a link to Amazon, and it's a referral link, And originally I was like, hey, man, I do know, I know tech. And Bad Seed Tech does mice, one of the best reviewers ever for hardware. He does mice and headsets. And I was thinking about reaching out to him saying, hey, man, we should do, because he's always looking at the next thing. Like that guy's self-improvement policy is ridiculous. Like he's always looking at like a new way to do stuff. And, right before I really like came up with an idea, a plan, like let's get together, automation destroyed it. And I was like, oh yeah, well, that sucks. It's sort of depressing when it happens, but
you tell me you're like being the Steve is important, dude.
Dude, you gotta have a Steve.
You gotta have a Steve, man. I always do this thing when someone comes to me with an idea and it pisses people off, but I think it's necessary where you just keep asking questions. You know what I mean? Where why do you think that would work? And what about this? And what if this happens? And people, and I know it's a bad idea, and they realize it's a bad idea when they just get pissed off and don't know how to answer, because you got to think of everything, dude, before you start implementing your idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Projects are fun because, sometimes a failed project can teach you, but I still do believe that you don't. Okay. So I was going to say, I'm not 100% sure I believe in the always. The reason why I was going to bring this up is I personally believe I've had a couple failures that I didn't learn from, and you have to remind yourself to learn. And so sometimes you get mired in that it didn't work or whatever. Yeah. And so there have been times where I've pushed 2 or 3 project styles where I could have done the first one and been like, dude, dude, what are you doing?
You have to be proactive for sure.
Yeah, you have to remind yourself to learn from the failure.
Yes.
Because you listen to social media, dude, all you got to do is, rent a fucking airplane and take a hottie picture in there as an influencer. And it's like, I mean, for reviewers, people be like, hey, I want to review. I'm pretty witty or whatever. And I'll be like, that's not at all. Like the wittiness comes later, or what you have to break things down and make sure that there's a space for you. It's dude, projects suck when they fail.
Yeah.
And my job after HP, they broke down projects. And I got to tell you, Abssii, it was uncomfortable. I did not like it. I did not like people saying something like they would come after me on something. And I'm the guy who was like, dude, everybody did their best. And then after 3 years, I finally learned that it was like, okay, it's not a personal thing, because they were very clinical and they would break things down. You'd be like, motherfucker, we're going to fight after work. Like, I'm going to kick your ass. Like, how dare you talk about my team this way or whatever. And then you find out that's not what they were saying. They were just saying that it failed and it was on your team that it failed. And maybe here's why, or what have you. And they didn't hold it against you. Because I also did commercial. Have you ever done nonprofit?
Yes.
Because commercial versus nonprofit is way different. And I went from commercial, where people were fired on a split second, where you had to be top notch, like you had to be best of the best. And then I went to nonprofit and I was like, some of these guys can't even get out the door. Like, they would be lost in the office. They are horrendous. And we just kept them around. And I was like, dude, it was such a mind fuck. I was not prepared for that, but it taught me a lot.
It's so weird. I made a lot of money in a nonprofit.
Yes, so did I. Made most in nonprofit.
It's crazy, dude. Yep. I made so much money selling charities. I don't know how the fuck
weird.
They were able to pay me that much, dude. Because the charities I would sell is like helping like a kid in Africa, but like a subscription based charity where you keep paying and we send you pictures and stuff like that.
Sally Struthers talking to you about kids starving, and she's obviously not. Yeah.
But that shit pays out. I don't know how or why.
They must take an amount off the top of every subscription, like a pyramid, or not a pyramid.
It's a large amount, man. It's crazy, man. Yeah, like if I made 5 sales a day.
You would be making good money on it. Yeah,
dude. It's crazy.
Well, it's like car salesman. One of my friends I was going to do board games and video games with, and I was like, "Hey, you want to come over?" And he's like, "Listen, that's 2 days out of my money-making days."
Yeah.
And I was like, well, to me, I'm looking at $20 an hour. I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, what is that, $25
that's a
an hour?
way to live.
And then he told me what he made in those 2 days. And I was like, that is not $25 an hour. Sorry. It was more like $500 an hour. What am I doing? Like, I would have to pay him to come play board games, because he would be at a massive deficit for taking those specific days off. Yeah, it was hilarious.
For sure.
Next up, how do you handle gossip around you or friends?
How do I handle gossip? How do I love drama, but I'm never a part of it. I just love hearing about shit. I love hearing about shit. I'm a curious person. I don't bad talk people behind their backs ever. I don't like that. I'm a very blunt person to people's faces. But let's say like a friend
was telling you about a girlfriend or another friend.
Yeah, I like to know about stuff. I like to know about people's lives, even if it's not gossip about other people. I'm very interested in interesting people. I'm very interested in like people going through crazy shit or embarrassing moments, or I'm interested. I'm definitely interested in hearing about stuff for sure, but I'm not interested in talking about stuff I have no place talking about. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it is funny because YouTube, they have drama all the time, and I'm not aware of it. And I actually was in a voice chat, and somebody popped in who knew of some drama amongst some other groups, and I was like, whoa, I really have detached myself from any of that.
Content creator drama is
content, and it was crazy. I was just like, how did I not see that on Twitter, what have you? And I think chaff is the proper term. There's so much talk. It comes and goes, and I mean, this job in particular, you become, after a while, you're like, somebody says something bad, it matters less and less. Somebody says something good, admittedly, this is sad, but it matters less and less. And then after a while, you're just like, this is what I do. And my friends don't drama talk because when we get together, it's very cultivated. Board games, I don't want to hear about, your family or whatever. I would say family is the only place where drama happens, and that's on a holiday, where somebody's telling you about, like, somebody's pregnant or whatever, but that's not even really drama. Drama stopped for me years ago, where after a while it's just like, and by the way, I'm not saying people don't talk bad about me, especially as forceful as I am, or when I'm a dick. I'm sure there's people who hate me, but I'm just like, that's not
I think
me
I'm curious about
either.
like behind the scenes stuff always. Like I'm always curious like
how it works or how
like I had friends that would go there's like an Austin, oh my god, it's terrible too. It's at the same time it's kind of like brain dead, but I like knowing like that. Like I had friends that would go to like these Austin because in Austin, Texas, that's where a lot of content creators live and
gotcha.
have horse parties and shit. And I like because there's a lot of streamers that would put on like a face. They'd put on like this persona where like they're like the best, most polite people in the world, and then you hear the shit that goes down, and it's just it's kind of it's like eye opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean that's what I would say happened a couple days ago, and then that's when I realized I don't have it, and I was like, oh, that's nice. I didn't pick. I think as you get older, your social groups get a little smaller too, so it's a little bit easier to sort of distance yourself. And then as a reviewer, you're not able to talk to people, so the only people I talk to is after a review, and so it just doesn't pop up. I have my thoughts on like game of the year, and I'll make those known, but it's not about a person, it's about a system in place. Most of my bitches are about systems. I would say that, because even in voice chat, I'll be talking about a system of some kind that's entrenched, and I'll be like, what are we doing? Like that, that kind of stuff I definitely bring up. Next one. I just want to say $5. Martha says Thomas Jane is the best Punisher. She must have saw my Twitter post, and you are right.
For sure. Yes, agreed.
Yeah, Thomas Jane is awesome. And I know somebody in chat is going to be like, what about what's his name who did the TV show? I thought he was okay, but Thomas Jane's like my favorite Punisher. Then, dude, Snazzy Balls. This is $10, so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Have you ever been eating a muffin and then thought to yourself, what if this muffin was alive and you would be a monster? That's it.
No.
Have you ever thought? No. But I have realized that when I consume a bunch, I will watch what you said, a donation stream or something, where somebody's starving in like Africa and I'm sitting there eating 12 muffins or 25 Uncrustables, and I'll be like, man, I'm a glutton. I have done that. Well, I've for sure like been just chawing down on something, and then or a commercial for dogs in pounds will come up, and I'll be like, Sarah McLachlan, you bitch. She'll be like, in the arms of an angel, and you're like, shut up, I'm trying to have a good day. What are you doing ruining, they're just trying to ruin my best days. That's a good question, but no, I think neither one of us are cookie monsters or muffin monsters. Guthrie's Galaxy, $5 super chat. Glad I caught you guys on my lunch break. Abssii, I'm currently dipping the cheese end of my pizza in ranch dressing and loving it.
Fuck you.
Oh, wait.
But also all the more power to you. Remember there was a podcast when I was like, it's so stupid.
Well, he said
because
crust.
There's already,
he said crust. It's not
he said I'm currently dipping the cheese end of my pizza. That's where the tomato sauce is.
Yeah, man, dude. You're an anarchist.
You're an anarchist, but all the power to you. Listen, man, do not conform, okay? Be who you are, but who you are is being
is wrong.
A shithead, right?
Is wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah.
You're
but
wrong.
Also unique.
You're wrong. No, not unique. You don't dip the fucking tip.
He's an indie game, okay?
Just the tip. You don't. He's an asset flip, is what he is. You don't dip. I'm just saying, never.
He's
dip
a live
the
service
tip.
game.
You're a live service game of viewers right now. That's Guthrie. I'm gonna refund you that $5 super chat, you son of a bitch. Dude, you don't dip because it all falls into the whatever.
You don't, and the tomato sauce gets. It's like dipping. Wait, do you dip sauced up wings into ranch?
No.
Okay,
I will
thank God.
I will
thank
pour.
God. Why is that even a thing?
I don't know, but if I've got the dip and the dip gets discolored, I usually will pass the dip. Like, I'll be like, that dip is done, because there'll be like a discoloring in the dip. I want the dip to be just the dip. I don't want it to be the dip plus, right? It's not endgame plus. I don't want sauce plus. I want Sauce.
I just don't understand.
I do blue cheese, and I think you don't like blue cheese, but I like blue cheese on stuff.
I don't understand if you like. I don't understand what you get out of dipping super sauced up wings into ranch, dude.
Anarchy. They're doing it on purpose.
You're just gonna get like a
life.
mixture of. Ugh.
It's gross. It's gross. And I see it with a lot of my friends will triple dip. You know, they'll be like dip, dip, dip. And at that point, I'm like, you guys here.
Seinfeld, man, never double dip.
Oh, I've never watched a Seinfeld episode in my life. I've watched parts of it, but there's a skit for that because
George.
Yeah, okay.
Eating a nacho and going back in for another.
No.
Like
You're never
taking
that's
a
the other
bike
thing.
and going back in.
If you wanna drive the chip around, that's fine. So if you want to get stuff, but it's almost like chess. If you take your hand off the piece, you're done. If you take your nacho chip out of the nachos, you're done. If you were to take that chip and like scoop it, look, and scoop it again, I'm like, dude, yeah. That's why I get my own stuff. I mean, I admit I'm a finicky person in that way, which I'm sure everybody agrees.
Also, if you're getting loaded nachos, and that was another skit, and it's very true. Not from Seinfeld, though. But if you're getting loaded nachos, dude, someone's gonna eat all the loaded up nachos.
Yep,
and you're
leave
stuck
you
there
the
eating
side
broken
nacho.
ass pieces of shit, man. There's just some things that
I feel that's the Steve of the company doing that. Like like Steve has the harshness of always people hating him because he says no. So when nachos are ordered, he's the guy who's like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get my payback." By the way, that's another thing that sucks in companies, getting group foods. So. Admittedly, I'm lucky I'm not allergic to anything. But, man, trying to order for just 5 people would take 2 hours. Because somebody would be like, all right, I want onions slightly cooked, slightly charred on one side of my Subway. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to get you do your shit. Like, there's a microwave, there's a frying pan. You go char your own goddamn onions. Like, we're just ordering some food. So whenever we do group, I would never be able to order. Because I'd be like, pepperoni pizza, that's it. And you get somebody, especially where I live, they're the pinky up. So they're like, I want shrimp and avocado seeds or whatever, fucking not avocado pits. But they'd be,
I just realized I'm not a huge fan of I'm not like a huge food sharer.
No, either am I. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I look like I'm not too. But I mean, I get my own stuff, right? Yeah. Like, also, if somebody's big. Somebody said we sounded like 4-year-olds, and it is so true. But it is absolutely true. This does sound like a little 4-year-old, but I'm telling you right now, the first fist fight I was ever in my life was well before the age of 8 when someone, his name was Dewey, like Dewey Crow. I had my hamburger. Listen to this. I took a bite, and I was talking. My friend's name was Laura Lee, and I was talking to her, and she was very good at talking to kids like you were an adult. So I was very interested. And Dewey, this mother, took a bite out of the hamburger in my hand. And it was instant, and I got in so much trouble. But it was like bite, boom! It was just instant on him, and that's I think I learned it. Like, he took a bite out of. What kind of heathen takes that, man? No, man. No.
Maybe
his little
a 7-year-old,
toothless, prepubescent teeth falling out into my hamburger. Like, fuck him.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Alex says, are you sponsored by Mountain Dew? No. You know what's funny is even the stuff I like, I won't be sponsored by. Yeah. What would it be? It would be Wendy's or Mountain Dew or Uncrustables. Maybe I would do an Uncrustables. Yeah. I might do an Uncrustables stream. But no. I think I would stop liking whatever it was I was sponsored by.
True.
I know this isn't what you said, but I love the idea of someone charring their onions in the microwave. Yeah, I did say microwave and then say pan because you can't char in a microwave. You are absolutely right. I knew somebody was going to point that out. The moment I said it. They need
to invent a microwave that can grill and char and shit.
Well, and you know what? Air fryers weren't a big thing when I was working at this company.
Oh, yeah, air fryers.
Yeah, they didn't have them at that time. It was microwave, and that one lady I always tell you would microwave the salmon every lunchtime. Microwave fish.
Who the fuck microwave
What kind
salmon?
of evil anarchist microwaves fucking fish, man? And by the way, there was one floor with 88 people, and as the operations guy, it was always my job to go say, knock it off. And I would do it every day going, this is not working. Like, she was above me. And she, one of the best people I've ever worked with, super smart. But it was like, I'm sitting there telling her not to microwave fish, and she was like, okay. And I knew the next day she was going to microwave, like we all knew. You know, you're in the system. You're in the established system. You know what's going to happen the very next day. Air fryers are so good. Yeah, air fryer. Did you get an air fryer?
Yeah, I have one, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. I've noticed the temperature's weird compared to an oven. Like steaks are a little bit more difficult, and air fried steak can be very good, but you have to really watch how you're cooking it. I've noticed temperatures. I've burned a couple things, and then one time I had chicken that wasn't done. You ever had chicken that wasn't done? You ever bit into slightly rubbery chicken?
That's bad. That's terrible. That's disgusting.
You know
Don't ever do that.
You know how sometimes, like, somebody has uncooked fish, like there's something about it that seems acceptable, even though I don't like sushi, but there's something about slightly uncooked chicken that every human in the universe on this planet...
Uncooked chicken is a no-no.
Yeah.
I can eat a steak blue. I can eat a steak raw.
You mean just
I've
like
eaten
hot?
A steak raw.
Where it's not, you don't even have a cooked title, just hot steak. And it's
no,
like
cooked, literally out of the fridge. Oh man, I went through a phase.
Out of the fridge?
Yeah, like literally raw. I'd wash it and eat it, but not a lot. But like I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I would before cooking the steak, I'd like cut some, give it to the dogs and stuff, and eat some, and you know what I mean, like just there's a little piece there.
I had an ex-girlfriend who said her mom would always make hamburger patties and eat some of the raw hamburger.
Dude, have you heard about chicken sashimi?
Yeah, that's actually what I was bringing all this up. Yeah, I have. And that's how. Yeah, somebody wants to die of salmonella, I guess. I don't know. I did want to shine some light on DLC, man. Age of Wonders 4's DLC is out. I think it came out last night.
Now.
Yeah, Ashes.
Okay, good.
Something in Ashes, but yeah. Age of Wonders. Anybody, if you're a 4X fan, man, Age of Wonders is the bomb. That game is
so dope.
So
it's
good.
one of the best 4Xs I've ever played.
I need
to go to the bathroom real quick.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay.
So he's going to the bathroom. You guys got any questions? Super chats? I did get asked, do you get free stuff with the Patron? Yeah, on some levels, a free shirt. We do free shirts, which is actually, I can't remember what level it is, but it's well below the cost of a shirt online. I just decided to do that. We give out free shirts, and then we give out games. Matter of fact, shout out to a couple of the, you know what? Let me do a shout out to some of the hosts. Silver, Purple Santa, and definitely Citizen Sleeve. Citizen Sleeve's been around. You guys have seen him on the podcast. I think he might be coming on Friday's podcast with Cadiz, because we're going to have a big Friday sort of celebration podcast this Friday. And Sleeve is always collecting game codes. So somebody will buy like Humble Bundle, and they'll give Sleeve some codes, and he'll sort of package them up and give them out to the Discord. So that's all done within there. So shout out to those guys for always helping. Johnny, of course. He's not really an admin, but some of those guys do a really good job in helping out the channel. And I definitely appreciate it. Also appreciate everybody watching. Thank you very much. Did you guys talk about BlizzCon? We did last Friday. Wasn't a lot that was super interesting to us. I think the big interesting thing is WoW possibly coming to the consoles, which was a comment that happened, I believe, the day after, or maybe that day, where that one of the heads of Blizzard was asked if WoW would come to console, and he said, well, we're Microsoft now. And Abssii and I talked about this, I believe, a couple times, because Abssii is a huge WoW fan, and I believe we talked about it on Friday. I don't know about you guys. I love the idea, but I think it's quite difficult to put that console onto your, or that game onto your console. I think the memory issues and stuff like that are pretty rough. Then the other thing, I was asked about game reviews. So I'm not speaking out of turn. They'll announce it, but a game I was reviewing looks to have been delayed, which I'm all for when games, do get delayed, because there's usually issues. So I've had to adjust the review schedule. I'm going to do a top games you may have missed. I believe that'll come out tomorrow, maybe. So if you get a chance, it'll be the top games you may have missed in 2023. Yes, I'm doing it in November. That's sort of because when I looked at like December, and Abssii and I talked about this earlier, but when December doesn't really have a ton of games, and doing a list in December with a December game for games you may have missed didn't make sense. So I've gathered about 12 games. Like I said, that video will probably be tomorrow. Jay Reaper, $5 super chat. Is drinking raw eggs like Rocky healthy and good, or is it a myth? Which is funny, because he didn't want to do that originally too. I would say you can, so there is an issue with salmonella, but I do know that a lot of people do put raw eggs into their protein drinks, and they're still fine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I drank a lot of raw eggs, and on keto, I would put a raw egg in coffee with butter and drink it.
Oh yeah, I think that became a thing, especially when the buttered coffee in the morning sort of became really popular to up your fat intake.
Yeah.
I don't need
I'd
to
put it in
up my
protein
fat
shakes and stuff like that because I do like eggs now. I didn't like it back then as much.
You mean
so I would just
normally,
but I needed the
yeah.
But I needed the nutrition.
$5 super chat, Zachary Park. Unfortunately, this isn't sponsored by Wendy's, but here's a $5 biggie bag on me. Too bad the 4 for 4 is gone. I will use that, man. I'm a huge Wendy's fan. Omar says, does your shirts have size 4X? I believe they do, actually. If you go to Spreadshirt, who I believe is who we use, they do the all-over tees. They're the only ones that do, and I like to have the design not cut off on the... It looks... I don't know. I don't like the big center design. We just made a new one as well that I won't post it. It's on the page. ACG Spreadshirt, I think, is what it is. I'm so bad at pimping my own stuff. Let me check. But I believe they do. Let me check real quick. What I was talking about is, I'm doing a video for the top games you may have missed. Because I think 2023, there's probably a lot of games that you could have missed in this time frame. Like, there's a couple even right now I'm thinking of that I haven't hit. That I want to jump into.
I don't think I missed anything, man.
No shit. You don't think you... So maybe you haven't, actually, because you are playing a lot of games, and you don't have to review them, which is nice. But I mean, so there's that extra time. You don't think you've missed anything, really?
No, even the indies I wanted, like Dave the Diver was a huge surprise for me that I loved. Laika is amazing, but I would have missed that. But someone... See, this is why I love the Discord, because I get, people tell me about games I don't like. Was amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, big games, I hit all the ones I wanted to. Okay.
Bramble King.
Yeah, that's I didn't miss it. It's on my list. I downloaded it already.
Bramble King's awesome. It'll be on my list. That should take you to the Creator-Spring shirt website, and you should be able to see if they have 4X for those shirts. The new one on their Rough Game is just a joke about us me always spelling rough, R-U-F-F, and loving dogs. So I put a dog on a shirt. Rough Game. It's a good design, but when I order my own stuff, it takes longer. I don't know why. So
no, actually, I got Remnant 2. I played it today.
Yeah, you played Remnant 2. Did somebody say Remnant 2? Yeah. Galaxy mentioned.
Guthrie's on to me, man. He's on to me. He wants
well,
me,
so was I when you said yesterday you played it, and I was like, what?
I said I like raw eggs, but he I find it disgusting to put pizza, like dip pizza in the cheese end.
I think that's a fair.
Yeah,
I think that's not fair, a fair. No. I'm saying he's unfair. I think you separating those two is completely unfair.
yeah.
Again, thanks. I saw some people ordering some shirts in the last couple
of
days.
War Tales is awesome.
War Tales is good. So again, we've got all these games that I think are going to be super, and Game Pass has got a ton of games that popped up, and you see the list of 10 games coming to Game Pass, and I look at them and I'm like, Sea of Stars I missed, Cocoon I missed.
Cocoon's awesome, dude. I played it in one sitting at work.
Oh, Ghost Runner 2. Admittedly, that may not be on the list because I've talked to a lot of people who think Ghost Runner 2 is not good and is
really?
Overly difficult. Yeah. So I had to read some of the reviews.
But that's it wasn't my favorite game, but I really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah. And they could just be wussies. Oh, Trepang 2 is on the list. Yeah, Trepang 2.
What's Trepang 2?
Horror / first-person shooter. You start out as like this mysterious, prisoner, and then it just goes nuts. It's like old-style Unreal and Fear mixed together. So it's like bullet time as well. So that's not Unreal. That's more like, Max Payne's a bad example.
Shit. This is like person. Fear.
Yeah. It's admittedly, from what I'm hearing, it's a little short, just so you know. I think it's probably 7 to 10, and then probably 6 if you go through it quick.
Cool. Yeah. This is cool. This would be a fun game to play someday.
Yeah.
There we go. I missed that.
Doom says, was disappointed Cocoon wasn't with Wilford Brimley. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. That's what I thought you were talking about. Have you seen the old Cocoon? That's way before.
Yeah, I know what he's. No, I know what he's talking about though.
Yeah, the oatmeal guy. Age of Wonders 4 is one of my game of the year. The new DLC is cool too. Yeah, Age of Wonders. Nice. Dude, there's just so many games.
Age of Wonders 4 is amazing.
And then speaking of that, Age of Empires, didn't they do like a DLC or two
for
this
two
year?
For Age of Empires 2? How are they updating all these different games, dude?
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that snuck, like, where I think it's done or I think it's just a one-off, and then I'll get a PR email and I'll be like, wait, what? And Portal's coming out soon. Portal's out next couple days.
Wait, what?
The PlayStation Portal.
Oh, oh my God, man! Fuck you,
I knew you were gonna say that, but I just figured
I thought you meant Portal 3. I was like, what? There's no way I missed that.
Half-Life 4.
That thing is useless.
Half-Life 4 is gonna be a card game. Yeah, no. As Reg used to say, but no, it's Portal, the handheld. I apologize.
Right? Are you gonna get it just to review or test it or try it or anything, or play in bed? You like that?
I'm under NDA for all of that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Got my answer.
And by the way, you'll sign an NDA prior to get anything, so I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that, like, all the rigmarole behind it, I just, like, you're not supposed to talk about.
Gotcha.
I did tell you last night I was playing Legion in bed. I was just destroying people. The fucking greatest gamepad thumbsticks. You
sprinkled it in there while we were
trying to
doing some
fix your
troubleshooting.
PC. But it's fixed, right? Your PC's. I mean,
yeah. It's completely,
no errors.
It wasn't even. Nothing was wrong with it. Just the Event Viewer. I got obsessed with Event Viewer sometimes. And I'm going to tell you right now,
I don't think my Event Viewer has gone without an error more than 2 or 3 days. It's Event Viewer throws
I should just
some
not
errors.
Look at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at it. It's almost like, have you been mean to your spouse or said a one-liner that sounded rude to somebody? And it's like, yeah, every day.
Decom errors. Random fucking...
And or shadow services sometimes,
provider type shit.
Yeah, and you'd just be like, it's not crashing the system, whatever. And every time I install new Windows on a new machine, Event Viewer will have errors within 15 minutes because you have so many pieces of hardware in your PC that something, and Windows is meant to go past that and work past it, which is what I was trying to describe to you about the power stuff. Like, stuff you may turn off doesn't mean it's turning off. It just means, there's some efficiency that is causing an issue with something waking up.
Yeah, because Windows always thinks my PC is a laptop, so it wants to save power.
Yeah, like you said prior to the podcast, I mean, that's Windows. Windows is always like, do you want power, mode on super efficiency? And you're like, it's a desktop with 4090.
Yeah,
of course
why would
I don't. Yeah. But are you the type of guy who does... So I told you to turn off hibernation. I don't know if you had it on. But I'm the guy who goes into every system and turns all that shit off. I turn hibernation off instantly. First thing I turn off in Windows for any install. It causes so many problems. But I also go into my consoles. It'll say, like, power saving mode will turn off in 3 hours if you don't touch the game controller. I'm like, nope. Turn that off. I want it to be on until I choose. I don't want it to, like, go off on its own. Do you mess with any of your console settings when you get a console? Do you go in there and fuck around, or do you just let it play and then worry about it later?
What kind of console settings?
Like power, efficiencies. Do you even mess with the resolution, or do you just have it on auto? See, I set my resolution.
I set
anal about that stuff.
I set mine. I set my resolution. I didn't know there were power options though.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Microsoft has a couple where it'll be like, after this amount of time, turn this off after this amount of time. I'll be like, nah. Robert says, did you guys see the free content that's coming for Lords of the Fallen?
I did not. I was very looking forward to that game, but
dude, I'm not even covering that game. There were so many oddities behind the scenes. I just don't even want to. I don't know. I don't even want to question it because I don't want to throw shade on the people who did cover it because many covered the problems. So I'm not throwing shade. Like, many of them covered the problems, but there were some other issues with just how it was all handled that I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just sort of sit that one out. I guess in a way that's sort of like for some people Hogwarts, because I know a lot of people who didn't play Hogwarts because of what's her name? What is her name? JK.
Really?
Right?
Do you know a lot of people that were?
Yeah, and what's weird is one of them I said why, and they said because my wife came. And I was like,
oh no!
And I was like,
Whoppa.
Yeah, I was like, well, do you have issues? Nope. I just didn't want to have to hear it. And I was like, oh, okay. Alex says, ACG, have you tried remote play? I did, but remote play is not the greatest. There's a $5 app on Android that also does remote play with better settings, but they require something shady. They require you sign into your PlayStation account while their app is active. And I've heard that a bunch of people say it's safe, and I don't know why, but if something's like actively telling you we're going to tag along with your fucking sign in, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't try. It's like, even if they are safe, what if he gets hacked? What if somebody gets hacked and their database gets hacked? Which, by the way, I feel like that's happening once a week. I feel like every time I wake up, they're like, this credit card company got hacked, and you're in pwned, or whatever it's called. Did you get pwned?
Yeah.
What if did you get pwned gets hacked? Think about that shit.
Oh, no.
Here's why.
Disaster.
It asks you to enter your email. And you're like, but if I enter my email, what if that part of your thing gets hacked and my email wasn't hacked, but now it's hacked because I entered it? Yeah, I just skipped it.
Yeah.
Do you have an Xbox Series X, and do you like it over the Xbox Series S? I have both. I like the X because it's more powerful, but the S has actually been surprisingly apt.
Wait, did you mean Xbox Series X or Xbox One X?
Oh, One X? Do you mean true old One X? I have the One X as well. Nope, I gave it away to patrons. I gave one of them to Takedown, which you had to pay VAT for. Sorry, Takedown. And then I gave another one to somebody in the United States. Luckily, no VAT. You have VAT? I can't remember. No, you don't have VAT where you are now, right? You don't have any kind. So if I sent you something, do you have to pay, Abssii?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think you do.
Yeah. Because in Canada, did you? Like if I had sent you something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
What else do we got, man? We got any more news other than Warner Brothers just making us all feel bad? Any more questions? Any more news? Twitter. Hang on. I know for a fact I got a bunch on Twitter, and we'll go through them. We'll bang these out. We'll bang it. Somebody get mad because I said we'll bang it. Let me go here. Okay. So I did get a bunch on Twitter. We'll go through these. And we will see what we will see. Dude, I've really stopped using Twitter, man. Really stopped using Twitter. All right. John Allen says, with the massive success of GTA and Red Dead games, do you think Rockstar will ever dare to make a new IP?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think so either, right? Like, they have awesome IPs, but I think they would. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're probably one of the few companies that I think would do it without any, not worry. I don't know what the term would be, but they would just do it. Lasky says, I'm experiencing a bug that's preventing all progress in Alan Wake 2. End of Sagas Chapter 6. Oh. It's a known issue.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
If you could talk about it and bring more publicity to the issue.
Sure, yeah. Okay. So basically there's one of the I've even talked about it last podcast. There's a bug where I faced as well, but luckily I had another door unlocked. But basically you're in this is not a spoiler. You're in a retirement home, and there's a door that like a certain character will open for you to get to the other section, to like the wellness center next to it. And what happens is if that character unlocked the door for you to go, but you ended up going like, well, I'll do that later. So you go back into the save room and save and then quit. You go back, the door is locked, the character is not there to unlock the door for you again, and you're basically stuck. So make sure with that game you have you have 3 manual save slots, so use them constantly, wisely, and so that doesn't happen to you, and be mindful of that. So what happened with me is I had it unlocked. I went to the wellness center. I unlocked another door. However, I went back to the save room and saved. So that door went back to being locked, and I panicked because I thought I had to repeat like hours of content. But thankfully, I had that other door unlocked. Yeah. So be mindful of that. Yeah. It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And I would say I use all the slots in like alternating order. If there's 3, same. I'll be like oldest, mid, new, and then go back, and I'm always checking because I got burned on No Man's Sky here recently too. Brian Ware says, is it just me, or is the announcement of an announcement trailer about as exciting as watching paint dry? Yeah, I mean, the GTA thing, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's like Yeah. I mean, and same thing with Mass Effect. We talked about Mass Effect because we both like it, but just doing a trailer of a character walking is like...
Yeah, I don't care about that.
I don't either.
I'm just happy to know that we're getting a trailer on December, I guess.
Dylan asks, will Rockstar update their somewhat outdated mission structure? Who knows? Because I'm pumped. We've talked about
I don't know. Like, yeah, we've talked about this. Like, I don't it's not out that it's outdated. It's just like not all games have to do these you know, you could do whatever you want in missions.
10,000 ways to do something.
Sure, yeah, because every like Far Cry, like play Far Cry, like you can do stealth or kill people. Like it doesn't matter to me. As long as the game is good, they deliver a good story, blah blah blah.
I think for me also, when I'm playing it and enjoying it, I don't think anything. I'll talk about it in the review, but if it's still fun, each game is different, so it's like, okay, that's their thing. I've seen and I've liked a couple big review. Nakey Jakey did one about Red Dead 2. He barely does content, but when he does, that. And it was thoughtful and it was good, but it was also not. It didn't drive me towards rethinking anything. Instead, it sort of solidified me into going like, this is how they delivered what I consider to be an incredible game. And I don't know if that incredible game would have felt as good if there were a bunch. Sometimes
incredible tight story.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, can you imagine Arthur stealthing around? Like, you know, there's something about it where after a while I'm like, that's okay, man. You just sort of just jam people up with your rifle.
Plus, they shoehorned in a couple of choices like you guys go or I'll start or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't care.
And then the last thing to talk about, Zelda, full, absolute, real actors, a Zelda movie is coming out.
Oh man.
Keanu Reeves as
you know,
Zelda.
sometimes some things I just don't want to see in live action, and this is probably one of them.
Dude, here's 2 issues with Zelda too. Zelda doesn't talk. Right?
Link
doesn't
talk.
Link doesn't talk. So that's like a, what do we, you know, what exactly is going to happen there?
Create some dissonance there.
Yeah.
Be like, wait, what?
And then also, elfin looking characters and races in games are always hard to nail. And Link has a specific look. And I think no matter who they choose is going to, I would not want to be that actor. Because, dude,
bro, something's just...
Come on, we know what the conversation's going to be.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw that announced, and I literally got this dry mouth thinking, what if I was, who's the Hobbit? The guy who does Lord of the Rings. Elijah Wood. I love that guy, right?
He is short in real life.
And he's short, and he's got the finer, detailed features that I think...
Sure.
And they're going to get somebody, and you know you're going to have people being like, oh, you know, the character doesn't look like a man or a woman, which, by the way, elves have that look anyway in a lot of fiction. You know,
man.
So you just have this thing where it's like, this is going to be rough. And Zelda, I don't know if I want a Zelda movie because I'm like, what exactly?
Dude, some things should just stay games, man. Some things are just
anime,
games.
maybe an animation. Maybe
it can be, but even then, like you don't play like Zelda. You play it, man. It's the game.
There's 70 to 120 hours. This will be a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, like the only really interesting Zelda story is probably like Twilight Princess. All the others are just it's around you fight Ganon at the end. It's all about the gameplay, all about the exploring those dungeons and doing them like puzzles. And what do you want a movie?
Real quick, 75, he's got a bunch of letters. Pitchfork 75 says Timothy Chalamet, I think is his name, who did Dune, could do it. Yeah, he's got he definitely has the finer details where he could do it. And I like him. I like him in everything I've seen. He doesn't act a bunch in some of the movies I've seen him in, but I think that's fine too, because again, Link doesn't talk, man. I mean, what are they gonna like? Is he just gonna grunt? I think The Rock. I think they're gonna make him talk.
It's gonna be the same thing where it's like in the first episode, Master Chief shows his face. Like they're gonna do this thing
Halo.
where he talks.
You mean Halo?
Master Chief. Wait, what did I say?
I heard, so I thought you were meaning Mass Effect. I apologize.
Oh,
you
no,
correct. I was trying to. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's gonna do the same thing where like Halo. Yeah, like Master Chief is better as like this entity rather than like don't humanize him, man. Don't make a movie out of. Don't make him talk. Don't.
Dude, I think I told you I read the gamed books, where they just follow the games, and they're pretty good, but they covered John's history. And I got to tell you, it didn't do much for me because I was like, I sort of like the Master Chief. John's fine, you know, if you like call him by name or whatever. But I mean, overall, I liked him as this silent killing entity. Yeah. You know, I mean, he goes to sleep that time. He's like, wake me when you need me. Like, the dude, that's what he is war. He's like war personified. He only comes out when you're like, we're in deep shit. There's an entire race. Could you go kill all of that other race? That's when you get Master Chief out of bed. You know, that guy doesn't show up for a show.
You know,
he didn't
even
show up in the other
Spartans
show. I know. Yeah.
Like the war crimes,
yes. And by the way, again, the book covered some of that, and that part was cool, but I didn't need to hear much about him. I was like, that doesn't, I almost like it when I don't know, and he just shows up, and you don't have arguments about it. But showing his face was the dumbest. He had sex in that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the Zelda, I'll watch it, but Mario was good. But Mario wasn't a live action.
Yeah,
Mario was a cartoon.
Yeah, Mario was fine. They did it. It wasn't live action, and it was like it was just like a fan servicey. It wasn't like a film. Like, I don't know, man. Zelda. I don't know, man. Maybe
they did a good job in that one. I think. I think they did a good job in Mario. But all the other stuff. Remember when they were talking about Master Chief and Halo, and he was like, "Yeah, I haven't even played a Halo game or seen Halo," and I'm like, "Wow, whoever was in charge of hiring." Yeah.
Apparently, the Last of Us one, the Last of Us did it well, I think, because they studied the shit out of the games, right?
You're out of the frame.
Oh my God, sorry.
You lean the way I do, to the right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
okay, there you go.
Suddenly, I'm like, anyway, no, I think Last of Us handled it really well. Last of Us did a really good job. They got good actors too, though, man.
Yeah, they got
what's her name? Bella. I can't remember her.
She nailed
Ramsey?
What's her name?
Belly something Ramsey. She was really good.
No, she was she was a girl from Game of Thrones. She didn't look like her that much, whatever, but she nailed her mannerisms and shit. I thought. I only saw the first episode though, so I didn't really watch that show. So.
Why?
But I don't know.
You just don't you like him? What's his name? He's in a bunch of shit.
Maybe I'll watch it at some point.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
good.
I'll watch him.
And Anna Torv from Fringe is in it, and I like her. So I probably watched it 70% for her at first, because she's the chick that Joel gets killed in the AI review, where it was like, Joel got what's her name killed, and I thought it did really good. Bella Ramsey, yeah, okay, thank you.
Bella Ramsey, she nailed it, man.
She did.
You can tell like they really they studied the game.
Yeah, so. Dude, you can tell when Pedro Pascal. You can tell when they like pay attention. That's why
Lady Mormont. They were both in Game of Thrones. I completely forgot.
Yeah, they were both in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's Oberyn and Lady Mormont.
But don't we see that where a big show comes around and then those guys are in everything? Like Friends always had Brad Pitt and shit show up.
I have a weird thing where I don't know why, but like it's like when let's say like two actors like the Farscape duo, right? I like when they acknowledge
Claudia Black and oh my God, I'm forgetting his name.
Claudia Black
Ben
and
Bowder. Ben
Bowder, yeah.
Charisma
I like when
out the yang.
Or let's say that both of them were like in a show. There was a game that had two voice actors that were together in like a big show, and I would always like try to look for like interviews or panels where they kind of acknowledge it or something. And I don't know why, I just like it. You know what I mean? I like hearing about it.
I mean, dude, SG1 did. SG1 played up the Farscape.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt if I'd missed it and somebody said, well, that's like a far off landscape, where like the one like where you're all, wait, what? Because they played that. I mean, have I seen you something? There were all these inside jokes and you could tell they got along. And I love that it was sort of somewhat reversed in that. It was just awesome. Those two have a lot of chemistry. I would love to play a game where both of those were in it. Yeah, Claudia Black,
sure.
Awesome, man.
She's in a lot of games, isn't she?
Yeah, I was just going to say Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. She was one of the mechanic characters in that. She's incredible. I would watch her in anything. She's really, really cool. And she came late. That sounds dirty. She came to movies late. Yeah, that sounded really weird. She started Pitch Black, and I think she doesn't talk about age because women in theater. Sorry, my dog's sick. If you can hear that.
Yeah, I heard it. I was like, what the fuck was that?
We had to do an operation. The same day we put Loki down, we found out he has a brain disorder, and they can't close their esophagus when they eat, so they have to go in there and stitch a part open. And so from now on, like, you can hear him coughing. You okay, Lau? Yeah, he's fine. Anyway, what were we talking about? Claudia Black. Oh yeah, she got into movies at a later age because Pitch Black, she was already, I believe, in her 30s and stuff. And she was phenomenal. Yeah. She was probably in an Australian soap, maybe. You know how some of these people, you find out like 50 actresses and actors have been in a soap opera.
I remember also in one of the episodes in SG1, I think it was in season 8, Teal was going into the simulation where you go into a chair and like have this like military simulation to test things. And he was a voice actor in Def Jam Vendetta.
Yes.
And so Samantha Carter was like, this is like Doom. Have you ever played Doom? He's like, no, but I played Def Jam Vendetta.
Oh, did he say it? He acknowledged it in the show?
He
that's
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I have seen that coming up where they'll acknowledge something as a joke and it just, sorry, he is not doing well.
Okay.
You okay, bud? So hot? Just look. Dogs are cool because they'll be sick and not know it. Like, especially mine, they'll go out, eat grass and stuff, and then they're in the house puking. Right. They're like, blah! Can you give me some of that cheese? And you're like, dude, if I was sick, I'd be laid down, like, compress on your head. And he's like, dude, I'll just puke and then run for like 4 hours. I mean, SG1, I think, would be a great video game. Speaking of that, what are some other, like, TV shows? I still think a Star Trek where you take over as a captain and just explore. They had Starship Commander 25 years ago was the last one where you really did that. I would love to see a Star Trek show. I was trying to think of some of the... Have you caught up? Have you been watching any new stuff that would be good for...
No, I'm still watching Lost. The issue is, like, when I eat, like, that's when I watch shows, and I like to watch comedies, you know? And then Lost I watch with my friend when he's available, or we're both available, and then we're going to watch From after.
Do you try to watch it on Discord at the same time? Because Johnny and I've tried 3 or 4 times. It just doesn't work. Maybe it doesn't work with comedy.
3, 2, 1.
We did too, but it was off all the time. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, it's like 3, 2, 1 because he's in Europe, there's a delay in Discord's voice, right? And then a delay in pressing the button. And it would be like I'd laugh and then he'd laugh a quarter of a second later. And I don't know why, but
it's a comedy because
it's a comedy. Yeah, I had not thought of watching like From or Lost. Those are amazing. Like, those would be awesome to watch.
Yeah, we always go like, what the fuck? And then we always go like, it's a Kate episode. I hate Kate. Kate is so trash. You know.
Oh, Kate in Lost? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate was probably my least favorite. She was just mean to everybody.
Yeah, she's the worst.
We are at 3 hours, 20 minutes, so we're going to wrap this up. If you get a chance, join Patron, and I also got to check this fucking dog, or follow us on Twitter, or don't. I guess if you don't want to jump into the Discord if you get a chance. We have anything else? Anything else big coming up? We're doing Friday's podcast. Will be Cadiz at minimum, and I think Sleeve might be on as well. So.
Oh shit! Okay.
Now Abssie's canceling. He's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Just joking. But yeah, it'll be good Friday podcast to talk about some stuff. Hopefully, we get some leaks about GTA between then and now. I don't think we will. I think they leaked this, by the way. And the way they did it, I'm pretty sure they preempted some kind of leak. Because GTA just said we're gonna show a trailer. I don't know why that seemed off to me. It seemed like maybe behind the scenes somebody had got a hold of footage or something, and they were like, "Let's just finally pop this." I don't know. It just felt weird. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like weird that Rockstar says in a month we'll have a trailer, versus just popping the trailer as a surprise on their own.
Probably Game Awards, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've thought about that as well. That'll be it for us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We absolutely appreciate it. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.